Welcome and good evening, Smite fans and Smite 2 enjoyers. Welcome to Smite Prime and its first foray into the wonderful world of Smite 2 on this lovely Friday evening. Spooky Mars, joined by none other than the Blaze McBain here to take you through an amazing first game between Name in Progress and Team Name. And Blaze, I just gotta ask you, man, are you excited?
Dude, I'm so excited because I have no idea how creative they're going to be about their comps with these given team names. You know what I'm saying? We gotta,
We
need to
might
put
have
a
a
little bit of thought into it.
contrast.
Yeah, I'm expecting a little bit of cooking here in the drafts, unlike what happened with the names that they chose, and we'll just have to see how it goes.
You know, you could argue that there was so little time spent cooking on the names that they're getting to spend it all on the drafts themselves. And see our first pick come through here, Susano being selected here. And, I got to ask you, Blaze, with this game being so new, with the world of Smite 2 being so fresh, is there anything you're keeping your eyes out for to see in the bans or the picks here?
I mean, there's a few picks I think that are relatively strong, but I also think it also comes down to comfort. There are very few gods in the selection. Comfort's always the thing. But if you have a god you're feeling really, really good about out of these 23, then that's something you need to take. Sasano being one of them. He's doing a fantastic job right now, just entering a fight and then sending you to the gray screen almost immediately. So not too surprised to see him first picked here, but I'm also curious to see. Oh, is this
Yeah,
okay? Sasano is actually the ban. My bad. Well, not surprised to see him banned then, because let me tell you, he gets in there and blows somebody up. So
all
I think
points apply.
that's fair. Yeah, all points still apply. And really and truly, I look at him. I look kind of towards Fenrir. These what used to be assassin archetype characters that are now classless. You get to play them how you want. Wouldn't be surprised to see Fenrir banned here as well.
I mean, I've definitely been seeing Fenrir's in my games personally. He's been a very big terror in the early game. He still has that pick power in him. As some of these new items have been coming through, I mean, they really do facilitate that early aggression play style. Not surprised I'll see the Susano go away. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Fenrir taken either, to your point. Do you think that we might be seeing a Morgan coming out here with the Susano being taken away?
Definitely possible. There is a ban with them where they can't be in the same game right now, so I wouldn't be surprised. Though I with Crit Morgan not being allowed to be built, I don't know that she's as valuable right
Boo.
now. Have to kind of see how that plays out. I think she has value. I don't expect her to be early picked if she's gonna be picked up. I would expect that to go later on. Part of the reason I do think that Fenrir is more of in that band state, kind of like the Sasano, is Fenrir typically can play 4 or 5 roles. I haven't seen him
Right.
in mid yet, but I've seen him in the rest. And it's Bacchus that's going to be taken away because
Well,
Bacchus has that free Polynomicon built into his kit, and then Fenrir gets picked. So we get we get the best of all the worlds here, followed by a soul. How you feeling about these so far, Spooky?
I mean, I'm always happy to see the Bacchus get banned. That guy's been just terrorizing my games personally. I don't like getting jumped on by him. I do really like the Soul and the Jingwei on top of it. This is already a team that can absolutely demolish towers in the early game, and with great late game scaling the Jingwei as well. I've been seeing a lot of different builds with this Soul. I mean, I've seen the crit builds. I've seen some just intelligence builds. What are you expecting from that?
I mean, they already have the Jingwei, so I don't really feel the need for crit at that point. But if you really want to burn down an objective, there's kind of no better way to do it than build these double crit hunters. But I have seen a lot of these ability based builds on Soul that feel really, really good. One of my buddies that plays Soul consistently, I mean, he's going that Santa Time idea where you get a little bit of cooldown and then you go in that demonic grip, you get that little bit of attack speed, and then it's just ability
Mhm.
based from there on out. So it really depends on the player and how they want to play and what type of comp you want. But these two together, they're going to take down objectives too.
Man, this is such a Wild West time for Smite 2. I mean, look at Name and Progress's draft right now. Fenrir, Ares, and Ymir. Do you have any idea where any of these three are actually going to be going? Because personally, I don't. I've seen them all across the entirety of the map. And I think that's one of the coolest things about where Smite 2 is at right now.
If I had to guess, I'm looking at Ymir. He's probably going solo, Ares support, Fenrir jungle. I think Ymir has been doing a lot in the solo lane because of his freeze and ability just to bop people on the head afterwards.
That's been
But
hurting.
the nice part is like you don't know. The classless system really allows you to kind of go wherever you want with some of these gods. And I mean, I've seen Fenrir in solo, jungle, support, and carry. Like I said, I haven't seen him in mid, so he can flex anywhere. Obviously, I don't think that's necessarily the case with the on her pickup here. But on the other side, we see Odin and Mordred, and I think some people are undervaluing this Odin with how many leaps aren't in the game. Odin has a
Yeah.
lot of value with his kit.
I mean, currently there are two gods on the side of name and progress that can get out of the Ring of Spears. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a third one get picked up here, although I'm struggling to think who that might be. Hekate's technically, I guess, could get out of it with her own ultimate, but you're burning ult for ult at that point. And I'm guessing that's Hekate mid with the Fenrir going jungle now. So you've got your full lineup on name and progress. Where are you looking for the last pick here for team name?
You know, there's a couple options. I think it's going to be Loki or Thanatos. If I had to guess, I really think this Mordred might be It's hard to say. Mordred's, I've seen a ton of him in solo, and I want to believe he's going there and Odin's going support.
Okay.
But I feel like I'm going to caster's curse myself by saying Thanatos or Loki here. Like that's where I would be leaning if I'm looking at this comp. I think that's what it provides the most of. It is worth mentioning that with this Ares pickup here, we want to watch the Odin because he has displacement immunity in his kit, and that's one of these new things people have to get used to.
Right.
When this Ares ultimate goes off, is they don't necessarily have to have beats. They can use these displacement abilities to kind of stay out of it. But it's going to be a Hades pickup for the last pick, not something I suspected at all.
So with that now locked in, I'm thinking you're right in the Odin support. That's going to be going to the long lane with this Jingwei. Hades solo, soul mid, Mordred jungle. Were we in agreement on that?
I would hope that's what it's going to be. I don't know if I want to agree to that because I still think you want to see some flashy plays. I mean, Hades jungle could kind of cook. His ultimate now allows you to allows you that double dash and stuff, man. I can see it working. I really like this Mordred more in solo than I do in jungle in some ways because I feel like he just can get online a little bit easier that way.
Mm-hmm.
But Mordred, if he's in the jungle, you have to really start listening for audio cues, which is one of the cool things about his ultimate because he just comes running through walls Naruto style and sends you up in the air.
Yeah, it has not been the most pleasant Zeus mid experience, I can tell you that. I do get quite terrified when I hear that coming from one of the jungle walls. Looking over it, I really do feel like Name and Progress has a really solid early game to play around with here. Fenrir and Ymir can both dish out quite a beating. Honor has been known to have a little bit of an advantage in the early game damage, especially against something like a Jingwei. So is it really on this soul to get pressure in the mid lane? What are you looking at as far as the strategies go here?
I think it really comes down to who's going which roles on this team name side because I'm looking at it and there's a couple little flex potential here.
Mm-hmm.
I am worried for the Jingwei, strictly for Fenrir. From what I've seen, if it rotates into the lane, it starts getting a lead. Fenrir can really dominate this Jingwei and make things miserable, more so than for the soul. So I think a lot of this hinges on can the Jingwei play safely and be able to get out? Is the peel there? Because there's not a lot of peel in Smite 2 right now. The options for soul, I mean, you just separate. If you decide to go beads, that's an option. I'm assuming we're going to see some combat blinks and some sunders. So I'm really worried about this Jingwei pick in the sense of for the Fenrir specifically. But I think the most value has to come out of what can Fenrir and Ymir, or not Fenrir and Ymir, Ares and Ymir do best together in the sense of, are you getting values out of these Ares ultimates? Are you, doing no escape and then blinking back into your team and getting value there and then followed up by the freeze or the walls? How do these two play together to where it sets up the whole entire team of name and progress?
And you look at it, there is a lot of immunity on the side of team name, right? Normally you look at something like Fenrir Ares, you think, wow, that's really good beads burning potential, right? Soul's got CC immunity, Jingwei's got CC immunity. You mentioned the displacement immunity on this Odin as well. How much of an impact are you expecting that to have against the effectiveness of name and progress?
I think it's very effective. I think you have to be calling all those things out constantly. You need to be thinking about timers. This is something I was actually asked about by a new player on Smite Game the other night. How do you keep track of that? And I'm like, well, you have to know a general idea of what these ultimates are. Do they have beads? You know, who has CC immunity? Make sure to call it out. Make sure you're communicating with your team, because if you miss something like disapparate, that could be a difference of getting a kill, or
Right.
this soul getting out and being able to just farm up more.
Well, we can talk about it all night if we wanted to, but I think everyone would rather see how it plays in action. So let's get our boots on the ground and let's see how it actually plays out once we're battling for Asgard. I, for one, am super excited to see how this game shakes out. And there we are. And already, I'm personally expecting pretty much this positioning from Name and Progress over there, taking a very aggressive step forward on that right side of the map. The invades have been the name of the game so far, Blaze.
Yeah, I mean, invades, they're super easy to do right now with Sunder. I've actually been saying since Alpha Week 1, I thought invades were the way to play, because I think in duo it just gives you a lot of pressure. But we're seeing this in a different way here. And if you look on the, that left side, I mean, look at all the blinks, look at all the Sunders that are there. They had to take beads because of this Fenrir and Ares. So, I mean, you might get some extra value out of blinks and Sunders here as they go in onto this Hades. It's going to be an early first blood.
Yeah, early first blood going the way of Arc Atlas, picking that one up nice and easy. And that's just the damage potential showing itself from this Fenrir, this Ymir. You got to be careful around these guys.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the first blood to be that early, but sometimes that's the way of the road. And, you're feeling pretty good on Ymir if you're 1-0 with Bluestone this early.
Well, certainly, you see the same thing happening on this left side as well. You can see Hostile Puppy stepping up alongside his Ares here. Mid laner, notably not a mid laner. And a second kill come through again on Deloche over on the right side. That is not a great start for Team Name.
No, I mean, you're talking about 2-0. It's 900 gold lead at less than a minute into the game. You're going to be feeling it. You're not going to feel it right now because they haven't backed yet. But, give it like 3-4 minutes when you have some gold online. You can buy some items, and this could be a rough early game.
I mean, already kind of feels like a rough early game with how much barking this Fenrir is doing in the jungle so far. But now I gotta wonder, how is Loesch going to be able to play against this Ymir, who has such good effective damage early on? Answer might be over on the left side, where you see a little bit of pressure coming through. Miller does take some damage, but it's not enough really to secure the pressure for Team Name yet.
Yeah, and I think right now it's just like, hey, we got an early lead. Let's protect it, farm up a little bit. Just don't give them pressure if we don't have to. But I agree, you have to worry about this Ymir overall. But we're going to see an early gank by Mordred here, rotating over.
Coming on in, looking at mid laner, health falling very low. The slow doesn't quite connect, but he's got nowhere to go. Run the wrong way back into the enemy jungle. It's just jumps it. They're gonna give it up. Mid laner gets to walk away with his life. They're more concerned with the buff right now.
I'm confused. I'm taking that kill. I'm chasing it.
Absolutely.
I'm chasing him straight over to mid lane and making him pay the price. Chase him in to your teammate. Hopefully you pick it up. Jing Wei wouldn't be too mad about getting a kill, but I guess you just let it go for now. But we've already seen the first back here by Spoon getting some items online for this Hecate. And, I think this feels good, as she's not even the one with the kill on the board right now.
Yeah, we kind of just glossed over it, but it is Soul in the duo lane with Jing Wei in the mid lane against the Hecate. How do you personally feel about that matchup? Do you think it's wise to put this kind of late game scaling character who struggles in the early in the center of all the actions? You might have to hold that thought. Your eyes on the right side, Fenrir being collapsed upon. But a wall comes up, blocking Jing Wei from joining the action. They're still looking for a little bit more. The Warhorn goes down. Frenzy comes in, but he goes right down. Party person finally is taken down by the behemoth himself. Now trying to find a way out is Arc Atlas. He's got a wall between him and the enemies, and he might have just done it. Limp back to safety, but Team Name's on the board.
You would almost say party person bit off a little bit more than they could chew there. Sadly, they couldn't finish that off. But now over here on this other side, Ares is getting active.
Yeah, he's gonna find a chain here, just burn him away, but the shield comes up just in time. Sunder doesn't quite do the damage, and now take a look. Hostile Puppy getting very low. Soul trying to fight a little bit more damage. Goes incorporeal, has to pull away from the fight though. The chains deal too much damage. He's gotta find a way back. He's gonna finally disengage.
Look who's coming around the corner though. Mordred is here.
The behemoth does not slow down just a little bit more. All he's found now is the mid lane. He's taking a lot of damage, putting him down. Behemoth gets another kill, 2-0 on the board.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you need from the Mordred. You're not even level 5 yet. You're getting active everywhere on the map, and that has to feel pretty good. Once you hit that level 5, you're going to start running through walls, and I think that's where things start getting really interesting. To go back to your point from earlier, Spooky, in a way, I do really think it's good for Jingwei to be in this mid lane as far as arriving to the fight a little bit easier in mid, getting back to the lane, and also, you know, it's a little bit easier to escape the Hecate ult with that dash knock.
Right. Definitely is a nicer look for them. See an invade come through here, chains, connect. Now top of 5, hit that spot. What an impale. But oh my god, he jumps over, he's still alive. The cripple falls off just in time for him to keep his life.
What is up with the just Nikes of running away here? Usually you don't see it, but there's the escape there by the Jingwei. Part of the reason I think that she's safer in the mid lane maybe than over in duo, but Ares is still getting active over here.
And man, he saw a buff get invaded. Now he wants to make him pay the price. He's found the guy who did it, but he's getting driven right back away. Meanwhile, Zerg, under a tier 2 tower, picks up the kill in the party person. Again, possibly over-aggressing in that mid lane.
Yeah, now they're going to go ahead and get oracles here, so that's going to be feeling pretty good. I like having the oracles early. It gives you vision on those rotations, especially, you know, when you have to worry about a Mordred running through walls. I think that's kind of important. But also, they try to get a little bit cheeky. Yeah, you know, sometimes. We don't see a lot of wards bought in-game right now, but, you know, so you need the vision where you can give it. Yeah, supposedly. They're not free anymore. You have to buy them.
Well, I mean, count me out.
And
I could be buying damage, man.
Yeah, you mean I can't buy a tier 1 item? I have to buy wards? Why would I do that? That seems, you know, a little weird. But getting that vision, I think it's feeling pretty good. I've seen some really early Gold Furies. I saw one pulled it like before 4 minutes the other day and killed. So I think getting that early vision is going to pay off. And we'll have to see. Does Mordred make a rotation through there, or does Mordred go and see that and go, you know what? I'm a behemoth. I'm going to go fly around it instead. So we'll have to see how that goes, Spooky.
Now, one thing I do want to talk about is the, I guess they're still called relics, right? We still call them relics. I do see the Sunder picked up by mid laner, which means there will be no combat blink airy ults. How do you feel about the value between Sunder and combat blink on this one? I have to hold that thought because he is actually getting aggressed on. Very deadly damage comes out from Party Person. Behemoth goes down, but now Party Person has been found. Jump back to his tower, though, keeps him alive.
Man, he took him to the party. That was crazy.
I didn't like that party.
As the value of relics, I think this is an interesting conversation in the community right now because there is a lot of the community that feels that Blink is the strong, you know, is really strong, but Sunder is probably the strongest relic in the game by far.
Right.
And when you look at somebody like Ares, who they just pulled Gold Fury and got it off that one pick.
Thank you,
Sunder.
Sunder.
This is a big thing because for Sunder, not only that, when you're Ares, if you get no escape and you just pull 3 people and you click Sunder, you're probably winning that fight because they're grouped up and it hits all of them. I mean, I don't hate the relic pickup. I don't hate the choice.
Well, speaking of no escape, here it comes. Tries to put a little bit of damage down, but looks like that was just a little bit over-aggressive. Doesn't find a whole lot of value on that one. Good ult from mid lane keeps him alive. And a second ult burned as well from Spoon. That's 2 ults down on the side of Name in progress. They've just taken the Gold Fury, so what really can Team Name do to take advantage of that?
I mean, I think they need to try to find one of these picks. They need to look over here at the Ymir, but, you know, the great freeze of the Bluestone, and you pay the price because Party is here for a party. Spoon picks up a kill too, and they were going to chase it down with the Fenrir Hecate.
Drop the Howl, looking for a little bit more distance to close. Brutalize comes through. The Morgan's still alive. Picks him up, puts him down. Ragnarok comes through. Party Person gonna run all the way back to safety. Regroup with the team. They just get out for that scot free.
Yeah, and this is the thing when you start looking over at Fenrir. I mean, he already has Tekokage online. And for those that don't know, Tekokage, really great item because not only does it give you cooldown, but when you cast abilities, you get movement speed. And what does Fenrir love? He loves to, like any good boy, run them down. He's playing fetch, whether they want to.
Sound like a good boy. Sounds like a bad
his
dog.
team it is.
Put him on a leash, man.
No, you don't want the Fenrir on the leash. Fenrir on a leash, not a fun time. Fenrir on a leash, not a fun
want him on a leash.
Maybe for the enemy team. Maybe on the enemy team.
Yeah, he's usually on the enemy team for me, so please keep him there. As we're now approaching the we're at the 9-minute mark. It is Aim in Progress who has a slight lead over Team Name right now. It's only about 1,500 gold, call it, but it is telling, and they are taking every ounce of it, trying to find more aggression. Keep your eyes up here. Odin being collapsed on. Cosmic Vibes has nowhere to go. Bane comes through. Brutalize is good as well. Trying to find a way out. That healing is not going to keep you alive, my friend. There's 3 of them all around you. Aim in Progress just once again taking the fight in group to one person on the map and cleanly winning it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Cosmic Vibes, you're not vibing right now. You're probably a little bit heated about that play. It's not feeling great there. But, you know, we talked a good bit about the Fenrir. The Hecate, we haven't got to see the great use of Ultimate there. I mean, obviously earlier, it did help with some peel. But I am curious to see if we get to see a big Hecate pull during this game. Like, that's something I'm excited for. It's such a hype play. Over on the left side, they go for the gank. Are they going to get it?
That's an excellent combat blink coming out from Hostile Puppy to get him back under the tower. Just so much movement available to these gods now. Previously, didn't have that level of mobility. Sure, he's always had the disperse, always had that leap, but adding the blink on top of it, I mean, he can get out of so much more now.
Look, everybody's talking about defensive combat blink, okay? I need everybody to understand, blink is not only defensive.
Okay, Anubis player.
No, get that out of here. We don't need that. Don't throw that on me. I don't need people hopping in and going, oh my god, Blaze plays Anubis. We can't have that slander here. That's a time. Now, if I'll play him in jungle, catch me there. But like on her with blink, when you hit the blink impale, it is a time. Like it feels really, really good. Also, like I mentioned, I wish in some ways, you know, mid laner picked up the blink because you get that no escape going and you just blink back to your teammates.
Oh. Speaking of teammates, gonna see a big fight coming through here. Hecate gets out of the ring of spears easily. Jingwei up in the skies, comes back down. Mid laner all on his lones, but Party Person is here as well. They are just shredding Zerg's health bar. He goes down. Party Person on a killing spree. Pick him up. Behemoth goes down. He'll show you a real behemoth. Now chasing down one more Thok, trying to find a way out of this fight. Over the wall comes Party Person, and Hostile Puppy puts him down. What a clean fight. That's a 3-for-0. Call it a 4-for-0. I'm sorry. Cosmic died during that.
That is insanity. And Gold Fury is coming back up, and there's no one around to keep him from getting it for free. Get that boy a treat, because that's the second Gold Fury on the map. And as these Gold Furies get picked up, it just gets better for you, making your allied minion stronger, giving you that extra speed out of the fountain and so forth. But look at this. He's playing hide and go seek, and he might be finding an Odin here in a second.
He's so low. Surely he just resets here, right? I mean, that health bar is playing with fire.
No, he is on the hunt.
Oh,
maybe it's just for a camp.
It's just for the camp. That's all right. He's going to get that pretty cleanly. Meanwhile, hey, this might be an answer back, but they got to make sure you lock him down. Freeze hits both parties. It's not going to be enough. Behemoth finally cracks one back, puts Arc Atlas back down on the ground. But still, Blaze, that is a drop in the bucket. 11-5 is the scoreboard right now. And that gold lead we talked about, that's expanded to 4,000 at this point.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about 2.5 times the amount of gold in less than 5 minutes. That's pretty significant here. And Arc almost walked away with a kill in that fight, and that's pretty scary. But they're gonna find Odin again. And if you're a Cosmic Vibes, you're like, we need wards, we need something here. You're having a rough time. Hecate all off the mark. And no escape being channeled through. Do they pick up the Jingwei?
They're going to burn the air raid for that one. Get out of dodge. Meanwhile, though, on the other side, Hostile Puppy decides he wants the 1v2. Almost puts them down, but there's just too much damage coming out for the Mordred as well. Behemoth and Thok manage to take that kill, put one more on the board for themselves, and try to find something. Maybe these towers can put some gold in their pocket.
Okay, I have to give it to Thok on the soul, okay? Because Thok is building Reaper, and the Reaper is, in my opinion, the good ADC lifesteal item because it allows you to play hyper aggressive as an ADC because that's what it wants you to do. It wants you to get those targets under 30%, and it does things like that. It allows you to turn it around. Oh my goodness. There it is. Party person not partying anymore. There, he got put on a leash, Spooky. You got your wish.
They really just decided to make your point for you on that one. However, on this right side, Ark is tired of being bullied and aggressed upon. They're going to take the fight under the tier 2 tower. Losh goes down, and Ark might be looking for another one. Behemoth using his dashes, trying to get out of dodge. The mid lane, he's been left over here just on his lonesome. Ark is going to pick up Zerg in the jungle. They're going to go ahead and sacrifice. What happened? He's doing crazy things on the map right now, Blaze.
What is going on? We wanted the Hecate ult. We got it, but now getting chased down because Cosmic turned it around. After getting ganked so many times in the jungle, this might be the time.
He's finally going to pick up this kill. He might just hold it for Thok here. And he just buys all the time in the world. And now this soul is on a killing spree. Turned it around on the left side and brought it over to the right.
You know what? We got to give it to Cosmic here because if I'm Cosmic, I'm not going to lie. Man. I might have taken that kill just out of the sheer anger of how many times I've been ganked in the jungle in 15 minutes, but saves it for the carry, helping them get more online, getting further into that build, and this crit soul is slowly but surely getting online.
And now we might be seeing Name in Progress in a bad spot here as Hostile Puppy is pushed out of the fight. Mid lane comes to forward, looking for the no escape. Chain 3 pulls them all in. Party person jumps on their heads and has already one down. Looking to burn a second one in. Jumps through, disperse, pushes Soul away. Thok now in a 1v2, but the life steal is still coming through. It might not be enough though. The health bars are so low. Zerg tries to help out, but all he's done is buy time, and Thok goes down as Party Person finishes the brutalize and puts that team right back in place.
This Fenrir is going bruiser, and it is feeling good because not only that, they save the Sunder on Ares to go ahead and pick up another Gold Fury. That's going to be 3 for free at 16 minutes. Holy smokes, what a play. It looked like they were in trouble, and they turned it around.
Man, that is 3 stacked up Furies to 0 on the other side. Look at this. They're going to make a quick shift over to this right side. They might start up the Fire Giant. I think it's a little bit dicey with all of the enemies respawned right now. They're going to go ahead and try to shred this.
They have 2 Sunders. They saved the Sunder. They didn't use it on gold. They can go ahead and pull this. This is going to be insane. Oh my God,
it's so fast.
It just melted, and they still have a Sunder in the pocket on Arc Atlas.
They're ready for the next fight. Look at them. They're swarming as 5. They sniffed someone in the jungle. They are trying to collapse on that. Take down this first tier 1. That's only the second tower to fall. The Party Person has found a couple enemies in the jungle. Behemoth gonna go ahead and drop the ult. That's just used for safety at this point. The wall comes up, but it's not gonna catch anyone out. Just gonna be towers for now.
I mean, all that they got Jingwei. I mean, they got several ults there for free just by Party Person hanging around and just being a threat in quotation marks. I mean, didn't even really have to do anything besides jump around and howl, and then they go, we got to get out of here, get out of dodge now. We don't know what's coming. The howl is the one that sets them to go back to base and try to defend this mid bird.
Gonna be a tough defense here. Already, Party Person is brutalizing on it. Pulls everyone into the Ring of Spears. Pulls them right back down. And oh my God, So Puppy just shreds through those health bars. That is a full wipe. Only Zerg alive, and it's just barely gets back to base, but he's in a 1v5 defense. I don't know if he has it in him. Has come down from the skies, picked right back up, and put back in the fountain where he belongs. This game goes to name in progress with a massive 14k gold lead and only 18 minutes on the ground. They take it clean.
Wanted the hype Hecate ult from Spoon, and it happened on that Phoenix.
There it
and
is.
Oh my god, I can't imagine what it's like in the comms. Like when you see Ford is coming at you, you're probably just screaming it's over. You're like, Sunder, drop everything. And that is exactly what they did there. Holy name in progress. They got a little bit more time to let that cook for sure. They ended that very quickly with an 18-minute rundown.
That was a blitz, if nothing else. I've said since Smite 1, the displacement is the best CC you could be hoping for. And Name in Progress simply stacked displacement on displacement on displacement and said, hey guys, what if we just run a team fight with this?
Yeah, I have no words. Like, I can't believe they got fire at 16, and then we're talking about at 18 minutes, they're ending the game. Like, to run it down that fast, the value they got out of Party Person stepping up is what allowed that all to transpire, because they got so much out of it that it then just allows Spoon to go, I'm the big Spoon now, drop the hammer and pull them all in.
Well, that is a convincing victory, but that's not the only game we'll be seeing here tonight, Blaze. We still got plenty more ahead of us. That's going to be it for just a moment as we go to a quick break, but we'll be right back with the next match.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Smite Prime Time. We're looking sublime as we get back into the rhythm rhyme of the amateur grind. I'm D-Lo, joined here by Blaze McBlain in the booth. We got Tess and Kat as our almighty eyes in the sky, and Jithens as the man behind the curtain, making it all happen. Blaze, how we feeling?
I mean, I'm feeling pretty hype after that intro, dude. Like, I can't be that smooth at talking. That was really, really good. I'm expecting to see a Fenrir ban. I was going to say it, and there it is. So, not too surprised after seeing it go off last game. I think that's going to be a pretty standard ban, and I'm curious to see where we go from there. How are you feeling about some Smite Prime here, D'Lo?
Can't complain to be here, man. It's the advent of Smite Prime, back after so long, and it feels good to be back in the casting saddle. Fenrir so unbound that he won't even be restricted to the bans part of these P's and B's. Instead, he thinks he's a pick one. He's wrong. And I thought we were going to see it right there. So having come off the back there, Blaze, just fresh from the C2 scene, are we expecting to see anything certain prioritized here for these first picks?
I'm really surprised. I wouldn't be surprised to go along with that Fenrir. I think it's going to be a Bacchus or Sasano ban. I think it's one or the other. Like, and you pick the worst of the two evils you want to face against at that point. Sasano, if you thought Fenrir was going off last game, I suspect any Sasano player that's in the jungle is going to just walk in and blow people up. That's what he does right now. And then if you haven't played against Bacchus, well, let me tell you, you're in for a fun time because he chugs away and then bops you on the head. It feels like crit Ymir, except there's no crit.
Yeah, it's actually disgusting to see the amount of damage that a Bacchus can put on you. The good old Floppus just one tapping you with that giant flab of mutton, and indeed you'll be seeing him restricted with those bans. So everyone's doing our homework here. And as far as the match we got here, Bello versus Look Inward, a match of mindfulness here. Everyone make sure to reflect on your Smite 2 skills before getting on into it. Reflect on these picks as well. Susano joins the word for Bello, and Look Inward grab themselves Ares and Neath.
And this is going pretty quick here. I mean, we already see the Jingwei pick up here too. I really like the Sasano pick early. I think you just take it and you go, okay, who are you going to pick and how are you going to counter me? That's what I think you have to do at this point. But the Jingwei, we saw it last game. It plays relatively safe. It can flex in between two different roles relatively easily. The Odin, though, I'd like to see where it's going to go this game, followed up by a Soul and a Hades yet again.
I mean, you guys both touched on it at the desk in game one, the fact that a lot less leaps when you have a limited ban and pick pool. Fenrir and Bacchus both being two of the gods that can easily get out of that cage. Now restricted off the map. You have Neath, you have Hades, and of course Soul and that Disapparate can do the same thing, but nonetheless, you have to expend some good cooldowns to do so. So I'm glad that at the very least Look Inward have tools to get themselves away from that fight. But you know, can put you right back in the cage when you use that backflip. A nice Hecate locked in with the Ymir.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll see an as hype Hecate play for the rest of the night as what we saw during game one, but you're not escaping that cage if it's up to Hecate. You will come back. You will face the reign of whatever is in the cage, WWE style. You know, you're going to have to pay the price and work your way out or die there, one of the two. But it is worth noting, I don't know that many players know that Neath can backflip over walls in general in the jungle. So I'm curious to see if we see some of that here. You know, flipping over purple buff wall for the first time felt pretty good under being ganked. And we do see a Loki, last picked here for Look Inward. And the trickster god himself might be up to some tricks in the jungle.
So we got comp for comp already locked in here with the quickness. And you're right, especially as the Ymir main myself. Having a Neath backflip over my wall for the first time had my jaw dropped, mouth agape, and it's going to be very pivotal with so many player-made obstacles here on the side of below. That being said, Blaze, comp for comp here. Overall thoughts on each side's game plan?
Oh man, I think if you have this Odin cage and a Ymir wall, that's feeling pretty good. I mean, anybody that you can lock down for your Safsano just to chase down is a good time. But I think you need to be calling out these backflips, disapparates,
Yes.
and how does this Loki perform? I think really and truly, this is going to come down to, is a Loki allowed to play the game as he's wanting to, or is he just going to get blown up every time he goes in? But on the other side, Ares, we saw what he could do last game. I really like where Ares is at right now. Now, having to deal with the displacement immunities, you want people calling, you know, is Odin, has he thrown his spear yet or not? Because if he hasn't, maybe I don't want to use No Escape. But comp for comp, I'm leaning towards Bello at the moment, but Look Inward's comp is still pretty good.
The die is set. The game is ready to be cast. Let's get into it. Bello versus Look Inward. Game's coming at you. And we're back. Welcome, everyone, to Smite Prime. The Advent has returned for Smite 2. I'm Dila, joined here by Blaze McBlaine. We've got Bello versus Look Inward, ready to march off to war. Early game dynamics here, Blaze. Which lane attracts your eye?
You know, I always like seeing where the Ymir goes, and he's
Me
going to
too.
go support. So I feel like that's going to be a fun time just to kind of see a different style of play here. But along with that, I'm looking towards this Hades. And Hades last game, when we saw it played, was not super impactful. But we see a little bit of a different pickup this time around here for Alfie. So I'm curious to see how that plays out. I would like to see Hades perform well, but he has his work cut out for him being against a Odin. So who invades, I think, is what it's going to come down to here early. And can you sustain through the invade is probably the better question.
Sustain certainly an interesting buzzword to look at here, especially you're talking about the side of chaos. Look inward, need to look no further for that sustain. You have, of course, the soul, you've got the Neath, you've got the Hades, all capable of keeping themselves for a long time in a fight. Seems the invade will indeed be brought by the members of Chaos here, trying to amble forward. Ymir waiting in the wings to see if they dare step into the Frost Giants' territory. That first blood fell awfully early prior, so we wouldn't be quite surprised to see it happen once again.
If we see a first blood before 30 seconds, again, I'm going to be absolutely amazed. I want to believe that that was kind of a fluke of the road. But, Rongyu's just stepping up here and really thinking about, hey, I'd like to fight a 1v2 at the purple buff.
Why not? You got a Sunder in your pocket. It's honestly a really good time to try to go for these early shenanigans. Instead, going to opt for the uncontested buff. For now, Ares is going to try to wrap some chains around him. No flames to match since they're still level 1. Grabs a bit of EXP there for the Mirror before ambling back to their side. And you know what? Not too big of a punishment either for it. So solid by the Emir. Grabs that speed buff, ambles back to their lane.
When's the last time you got to see two supports just kind of stare at each other, cast some abilities, and just get to fight for a little bit and no one intervenes? You know, that's what Smite 2 brings us. The battle of the supports, what we've always wanted.
It's the ISO play. And it's the Icy God to be actually bringing that sort of pain. This dual lane dynamic is going to be interesting. You mentioned the fact that having Emir here certainly brings some interest and intrigue. It's going to bring some big walls to separate. Comes a bit too late to the punch to save you from some poke, but at least it saves the life of the carry.
Yeah, Loki looking to get active here in the mid lane. That's kind of where I like to see jungle go early, is towards this mid lane. See if you can get a pick early. And if you can, it's going to, ramp up, helps your mid lane, helps you, and then you just rotate where you want after that. But look who's coming behind.
Oh, Susano with that wind siphon. The jet stream going to follow you no matter where you backflip to. That backflip destination, though, is going to be the tower. Means that we're not going to see any kill dropped here quite just yet. Loki's certainly a point of interest, and so is that first blood dropped right quick onto the Ares tempo, giving a breakneck pace. Fight here in the mid as well as Susano tries to pursue their opposition in the jungle. Loki, slippery creature he is, going to be able to get away.
What I like that we're seeing this game is a different set of relics. Aegis was not picked up at all. Game number 1 here. And now we're seeing Aegis here in the second game. And I think it's kind of interesting to see the value of what people want to have as their relic. The beads for CC immunity, the Aegis to avoid the damage, the blink for getting aggressive or getting out as we see a fight break out here.
Once again, that aggression is the name of the game here in the duo lane. Loki making that rotation on over could provide a bit of trouble for the Emir. Trying to provide some guerrilla tactics of their own, but wrapping around slowly and stealthily. And they're still pushed up. This could be dangerous here, especially for the Jingwei trying to assist their support. Trapped there in the decoy clone. Here comes Loki. Here comes the freeze to follow. Keeps that dual lane safe. If you are this Loki, didn't quite get to see this gank be successful. Is this the target you want? Should you be ambling somewhere else for your ganks?
I think this is a hard lane to gank unless they're already low. Like, if you know the dash is down on Jingwei, you're like, cool, I'll go gank Tuba. Or, but he still has Aegis online. Do you still want to gank that? I'm not so sure. I don't know if Hecate's better to gank, because you look at that and you're like, okay, well, the displacement's there. So I think it comes down to who do you feel more comfortable ganking with your partners that are in that lane. I do think Hades isn't a bad look if he's low. If he's low and you can get over there to get the CC off, I think it feels pretty good.
It's good to get the CC off with the Wind Siphon as well, but not hitting that jet stream means he can't quite stick to the Loki when it's invisible, which is a really pivotal part of that matchup here. That does at least allow a nice invade here for Bello. Just going to keep up that pressure. 3 minutes in, 1 kill on the board in their favor, and a small gold lead as well. If you can just get those gifts on top of it, going to continue to add to their coffers.
Yeah, I mean, getting these gifts online is absolutely huge because it just allows you to snowball. It's so much gold in the early, and all you have to do is make sure you're able to channel it, as Ares is in trouble yet again.
Oh no, more basics in your back. One more arrow finds your heart, or in this case, the butt of Tempo, who gets taken out once again. Doesn't feel good here to see, but Ymir, that feels good to see. Invading as much as they like, uses that wall rocket jump just to get themselves a bit more space and safety. Soul's a character you want to see really carry, and she's going to do damage inevitably, Blaine, but at this point, her embers are starting to be stamped out just a little bit by all this pressure.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't where you want to be if you're Soul. The good news is you have some time to work with it, but it is a little bit catastrophic that you start seeing Rongyu and Tuba really start to run it down here. And not only that, Tuba's already a full level ahead.
Ooh. That feels good for our side here on order. They're just keeping it up. A lot of attention on this left side. Paid this time with the Susano. Haven't got to see them amble over quite just yet. Let's see if your fruits have any success. Some damage on the Jingwei, but she's just trying to bait them all in. Neath ult incoming could provide your end, though. Susanoo, though, gonna provide the finishing blow. Takes out Soul. Tempo follows it up. Beautiful double kill there, provided by the jungle.
Yeah, Jingaru just kind of just waits, lets the trap be set, and then, hey, by the way, have a Typhoon. And at that point, it's too late. It is absolutely too late. Yeah, the Susanoo only has a few things online. It doesn't matter. He's going to hit you with the Typhoon, pull you back in, and now they're going to pull a gold here. Can you get a steal is the question. I'm not so sure.
It's going to be Tubu who grabs it. And of course, deserved. They've been on top this entire time, and we're seeing it translated into bigger objective dividends here. It's an interesting question here, Blaze, of when we see rotations. So there's no beacon at 12 minutes to obviously draw in the solo laners. In your almighty eye in the sky opinion, where do we expect to see these solos start to make some forays in other lanes?
I think it comes down to who they're playing. I think Odin, really, you're going to farm for a while. Maybe at like 12 minutes, you decide, hey, I want to rotate to the next Gold Fury if we already have one. Like, you either want to or you don't want them to get the second. So it kind of brings you into this idea of rotating. But the solos don't have teleport anymore. So they have to go over to those either teleports on the side of the map, or they have to decide to, I'm going to run over there and make it happen. Do I want to lose that farm? I think Hades has some options to maybe rotate mid lane, but he can't afford to give up too much farm to this Odin because his life becomes miserable when that cage is up if you can't dash out of it.
Absolutely. This could be miserable, though, for our dual lane if they get victim to another gank. I mean, it's only Ymir, but we know Ymir can certainly put the fear in their hearts. Opting to stick around for a bit longer. Obviously at level 5 sometimes is that time when the supports spread their wings and fly away to a different nest. As far as sticking around here, though, do we think that what the consequences are, is it worthwhile for these supports to babysit for a bit longer?
I think so. I think support staying in duo for a little bit longer in Smite 2 actually pays off a lot, especially it either, it helps set up ganks, but it also dissuades, depending on who the support is this time, it's Ymir. Do I want to gank that lane? And now Jangar getting active again on Susanoo.
Question of do I want to gank the lane's been answered quickly. Unfortunately, Susanoo got to answer the question of do I want to use my beads? And the answer is yes. They pick up a nice invade as well for their troubles. It's a 4-man rotation here. They just march through it like it's their own territory. Neath tries to fight back, but it won't quite succeed. You might be paying your own life for that speed buff instead. Storm Kata back to safety, opting not to commit to the kill.
Yeah, I don't know if he knew Loki was there, but really good play to dash away, because I think you're walking into Loki and Ares isn't far behind. That could have turned on its head really quick, but really good play there just to poke out the Neath. And now we're going to see, Queen Naga get taken down. We can finally see Naga Assault coming online here on Smite Prime.
The Naga Saga is such an interesting one to see because it's an objective that, of course, ambles around the map and can provide immense utility there when you're looking at those Furies. Without that on the map, though, you have to wait to see how that ends up being expended. Odin took a little bit of traipse over to the mid lane, didn't quite commit to the fight. If you are that Odin, I think it's always such an interesting question of when do we ideally want to see the cage used? The PEMDAS, the order of operations. Should it be at the beginning of the team fight, the middle to cause chaos, or at the very end to pick up some quick last-minute kills?
I think you're waiting to middle to end. If you're popping it early, you have something set up ahead of time that allows you to, execute down a god immediately. If you know that they're already used ults or they've used jumps, whatever else, that's when you want to use it. You want to make sure you're getting the most value, either relic-wise or utility-wise, as far as like this Neath backflip, Loki ult, things that would get them out of that cage. So overall, I think you wait to that middle to late part of the fight early on. You better be taking someone out immediately if that's going to be the case. You have a Ymir wall that gives you that, thing to have to go around anyway. So why don't you use that? It's on a shorter cooldown, is where I'm at. But Hecate, holding in the mid lane.
Ooh, getting basic attack in the mid lane as well. That Flurry Sash and the Assassinate is going to finish the mission. Codester is a hitman, and he's got his target off lock. Puts them on the board. Finally, look inward. Can look to actually get some kills on their tally.
Yeah, I think they took some time. They looked inward, and they decided, hey, I think Hecate's our best option of a kill to get on the board. Gold Fury has spawn, though, and I'm not going to be surprised if we see Rem make the way over here, especially where Need's already made the rotation. And this could be a little bit interesting for Team Bello. Can you hold it off and get some kills out of this and turn it around?
And you escape. The no escape. 2 CC immune ults say, yes, we can. Excellent use of those. It does force a lot of their trump cards here for this upcoming Fury fight. Will it be contested? It seems the dual lane are going to try their metal at it, and they do succeed to actually force them back. They have that Naga buff after all, so you don't want to challenge them because it's a really great tool to siege down any big objectives, and it forces our friends to look inward off their really one big opportunity for a good objective swing.
Yeah, I mean, the little Naga soldiers that pop up, they'll tank the buff for you. They do good damage to Gold Fury and Towers and Fire Giant. It's a really cool buff on the map. I really enjoy it. And the fact of the matter is, tempo was really, really low. If you stick around and you lose the Gold Fury and you lose your support, Luke Inward is really sitting there questioning a lot as the Gold Fury drops yet again to Bello, pushing this lead even further, and now allowing, Mushroom to be online here for Wrong. You're going to get some extra healing in these team fights. You already have a Hydras for Jangaru. You already have Crit online for Tuba. You're feeling pretty good on the side of Bello.
About 11 minutes here. 4-1. 4-1 is going to be for Bello's side, and that's just going to make the gold lead, like you said, about 2K to their name. Starting to slowly but surely expand those dividends. I do got to say, I love the Amanita item because it's forcing everyone to upgrade their alchemy, put some skill points in that tree, put some skill points in their damage. There comes the open the gates. Unfortunately, not going to find anyone home. That's just going to mean a bit of ult economy at least goes the way of our friends on Chaos.
What I'm excited about is the fact that we get to see the need with the Book of Thoth and Transcendence like I talked about before the first game. But now there's a fight breaking out.
Oh, the Shards of Ice are charging. Unfortunately, not going to get much before you fall. Susano picks up the kill, though, on the back end. Takes out the Neath as well as the Ares. Loki waiting in the wings for a gift that will never come, my friend. You might want to get yourself out. Keep the gift of life instead. It might be taken away. It might be returned to the star. Win Siphon into Siphon the last of your health bar. This Susano's on the rampage.
Yeah, I mean, picking up a 3 for nothing. Might be a 4 here in a second. Tuba's looking for a kill, too. And Rem is in trouble. Skunk's in trouble and takes a spill. Holy.
It's just so much aggression. It's so much aggression, and we saw it quite literally from the first seconds of this game's timer winding down. We talked about at the desk, Blaine. We're looking to this Loki. What can they make happen for their team? Do we feel like they've subverted our expectations, or do they still need to bring a bit more to the table?
I think they need to bring more to the table. I'm a little bit surprised by the start of this build for Codester. Going into Devos into the Heartseeker idea is a little bit strange to me. I think you wanted to spike damage earlier than this, and I think there was a better lifesteal item that you could have went if you were Codester. But maybe even having success with this build as Jangaru finds another one.
The Naga Saga continues the way here of Bello. They grab a kill on top as well. Now rotating the mid, Neath's going to have to exit stage left. At the very least, you only use your support, but when you're already down such a large kill differential, not something you want to see. As far as these fights go, what are they just not doing quite correct on Look Inward? What can they reflect on to ensure the next one ends in their victory?
I think they have to spend some time and ask themselves, okay, we need Codester to be here in the fight. He obviously provides a nice little chunk of damage with that execute, being able to go onto a target, stun them, and set up a kill. You also have Airbuzz to do that as well. Like you can literally decide, hey, we're gonna just kill a target. Who is it gonna be? But that needs to be communicated, and everybody needs to dive that target together. And I think you have to be looking at either Tuba or you have to look at Jangaru here. One of the two, because they're doing massive amounts of damage. And if you can take one of them out, the team fight suddenly becomes a little bit easier. And by a little bit, I mean a lot of bit. You're not having to deal with a Soul, or you're not having to deal with a Susano. Your choice. But Rongu here is making the rotation and making him deal with Tuba.
That's so unfortunate, but at the very least, that Neath ult stops him in place for just a little bit. I mean, look at these level differentials. 3 up here for the Susano. I have to agree with 6-0. You want to try to add to that death counter just a little bit. Seems that they're going to try to do so at the very least here in this left side. Potentially no. Loki ends up backing, deciding that their cards weren't quite in their favor. Instead, Soul is going to be the object of their affections. Luckily, that egg is going to be expended to keep them safe. Looking around here, yeah, Loki and Jangaru both kind of having a little bit of a dance over around the speed buff pit. Not going to quite find anything, though, as each team retreats to their respective sides.
that might have been the best play Coaster could have made, and I don't know that it was on purpose that he was over there, because I think Jangara was about to rotate behind that tower, and it was going to be devastating. But a Gold Fury, for the third time here for Bello. Feel a little bit rough here about 15 minutes in the game if you're looking inward, and you're trying to decide, what's our next steps. It has to be to find a kill onto Tuba or Jangaru. I stick with that. They're both deathless, and that just has to be the key.
It's not only just such a great thing for the scoreboard and your goals, it's also a great thing for the mentals. You want to try to put a bit of a stutter in their step. Instead, Ares walking right back to the fountain the hard way, thanks to Tuba. Keep on adding to those kill coffers, and now they're taking the carpool lane over to the solo to bring the pain to the god of the underworld. Gonna send him back to his place of work. Skunk takes a big trip back as well. Here comes the dive, and Hades, not having seen combat before in his life, decides to flee the scene once again. That right tier 1 is toast.
Yeah, he's just out of dodge. He's like, yeah, I'm not dealing with this.
Nope.
As soon as they showed up, he said, yeah, I'm gonna go over here. You guys go ahead and have that tower. I'm just gonna wait for the minions to come. Fire Giants now being leashed here by Bello. And hey, Milleron just puts down Coaster. I can't decide if that was disrespectful or not, but holy, Bello pushing this lead. It will be close to 10,000 once this Fire Giant dies.
And the Ymir takes it. Could expect nothing less. Ice Giant proving the superiority over the FG. 16 minutes is 12-2. Like you said, 10K up in your coffers. Hades, now the object of their affections, once again says, hey, stop avoiding us. Hades hits the block button once again, goes back to base. Dude just does not want to ruin his KD.
I'm looking at the Neath build, and this is cooking. Okay, we have Cosmic Horror. Because now, not only do you have Transcendence, not only do you have Book of Toth online, but Cosmic Horror, once you hit that intelligence threshold, you're going to get more cooldown. So you get 25% basically. And then it just gets better. Like, this has to be feeling good. You just have to protect the Neath if you're looking inward. Like, you look inward at the team comp, and it needs to be protect the Neath. Protect it at all costs.
Protect the President's always an important game to play, and it's on a god that can certainly make their way out of a fight at a good time. These Neath ults, like you said, have been very pivotal. Having that cooldown is going to be even better. Loki, having to expend one of their big cooldowns, Assassinate, to escape from the Ymir's clutches. Doesn't feel good to have to use it defensively, which is where we've often seen it be expended. At the very least, though, can live to count your chickens another day. Fortunately, can't quite count this tier 2 on the left side long. It's going to be going down.
Yeah, I think it's look inwards. Should pick up a tier 1 tower on that solo side, but I don't know if it's worth losing your Phoenix to do that.
Oh, not a good trade you want to see. That's a GameStop trade if I've ever seen one. And Ymir's going to be trying to make it even more of a scam. Trying to look for the damage on the Hades. There comes that Pillar of Agony. Unfortunately, only Agony is what it's going to be feeling. Alfie takes it down to the fountain for the first time. The damage dropping down as well as the cage, but Skunk will die first. Tuba is making some big numbers happening. Womp womp. Rem takes down Airbuzz in the back. Loki trying to assist. Unfortunately, realizing a bit too late that Phoenix was more important than the tier 1, and their life will be put to forfeit as well. It's a deicide. Beautiful work there. Bello, wave to the camera. Excellent work to just take that fight in spades. And with that, the game's going to go their way as well.
Shout outs to the Naga soldiers, okay? They were there. They were doing the work. They're at the Titan.
True.
They were overlooked in this matchup, okay? They need some credit here, too. Yeah, Jangara goes 8-0-4. Tuba goes 6-0-3. Rem goes 2-0-3. But shout outs to the Naga soldiers for being a real one.
They should be put on the scoreboard right here. We got to see Naga stats. Stat. I want to see it because they were putting in OT. They never clock out. They never can just go back home to their loving Naga wives and kids. No, they have to stick around as long as you say we need a Gold Fury Siege. They're there to help you out. So also great job, though, to Bello for making sure to secure that each time. Contested, non-contested. They were on top of that objective game. Blaze, look at this scoreboard. Tell me what you're seeing.
I mean, just a dominance performance. I talked about, you have to be really wary of this Asano and how you're going to play around it because he likes to get in there and just send you to the gray screen. Jangaru did this, that. I look over at Tuba. Tuba had a lot of gold, man. Like 14K, and then you look over at Rem, who was in solo at 13K. I mean, yeah, it's only a little bit more, but Tuba was farming up, had the crit, had the movement speed with the crit, feeling pretty good. Might be a combination to watch out for.
Dude, Jingaro doesn't even know how he got that many kills. His name's all question marks. Dude does not understand how he walked away without dying, despite how aggressive he was schmovin'. That being said, look inward. They had moments where it seemed like he could put up a good fight. If we had to elect what aspect of their team was working well, what do you think that would be?
I mean, I think they played really like I think they tried to make things happen as a group of 3 or 4 at times. I think they needed to find some way to get Alfie into these fights. Alfie was just kind of in no man's land over there in the solo lane, was never really able to get into a team fight. But Airbuzz
Yeah.
had good ultimates. Skunk, when Pride with that or paired with it along with tempo, there were moments that were shiny, but it just couldn't all be put together and fit into the puzzle.
Unfortunately, not going to be able to put that puzzle together this week, but hey, look forward to see what Look Inward can do in the future. Like your name says, exhale, inhale, reflect, and come back with a better spirit and some better plays. That being said, congrats to Bello. You're moving on. Look inward. Better luck next time. We got more Smite Prime action for you in the future, though. Don't you dare go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Smite Primetime Quarterfinals. I'm D'Lo. This time with Spooky Mars joining me in the booth. We got Tess and Kat still as our almighty eyes in the sky, and Jithin keeping the lights on, and you watching. So thank you for that. Spooky, how we feeling?
I am feeling fantastic right now, D'Lo. We've already seen 2 very fun games coming out. I'm expecting we're going to see an even more exciting third one here as we get deeper into this bracket. These games are only going to get more competitive. And this matchup in particular looks very interesting to me, just looking over the rosters. Before we get into all of that, we got the picks and the bans here. We've already got one ban coming out. Neath and Bacchus both taken off the board. Bacchus has just been taking bans all night, and I can't say I'm surprised by it at all.
He's banned from the bars, he's banned from the liquor stores, he's banned from your Smite 2 lobbies, and it's always the onus of the Chaos team because they know that if that first pick's left alone, it's gonna be taken up. The Bakery instead, first locked in the Susano. We saw it quite effective before. Jing Wei and the Fenrir locked in for Elevate.
That does leave the Susano and the Odin up for the Bakery. I like the Cage coming in here this early, pairing it up with the Susano. It does give Elevate time to kind of draft around that and try to figure out what they can do to mitigate the effectiveness of this Odin. But the fact of the matter is that the Bakery's already picked up the Susano. So he's one of the most mobile gods in the game right now. He's got so much damage potential. If you waste your escape trying to get out of the Odin cage, all the Bakery has to do is leave this guy sitting around to come clean up whoever tries to leave. I like the idea from the Elevate here. Just pick big circles. Maybe Hecate gets you out. Maybe you just drop Stormcall inside the Odin cage and buy that much time for yourself.
Geometry lessons are always a fun time in Smite. It's simple, it's effective. Soul, what better god to lock in for your bakery to warm things up, and Ymir to chill them back down to sub-zero temperatures. Loki is going to be their final pick
terrible.
as well. Fire and Ice, it's a song of ice and fire. George R. R.
Yeah,
Martin
but in a
would be
bakery?
proud.
I don't want my baked treats to be sub-zero.
That's how you preserve them better.
D'Lo.
That's how you keep them ready when you want them next week. You don't want to see them things get moldy. You don't want to see the plays get moldy either. And now we see Elevate 4.5 waiting for their final pick. Any speculation is what you think it might be?
There's still quite a few they could be looking at. They could be putting this Hecate in mid lane or as a support. Personally, I like Hecate better as a support myself. That might just be me. We could be looking at a Bruiser here. Oh, it's going to be Mordred, which... I have some questions to me about where everyone is going. Maybe a Fenrir goes support here? Akate mid? Doc in solo, Mordred in jungle. That would make sense to me.
There's a lot of mix and
Although I
matching.
wouldn't put it past him to see like a Mordred support at some point, just because that's the kind of thing we do around here.
I mean, that's the thing about Smite too, Spook. It's the fact that everything, obviously we've been in this alpha for a bit more time than prior tournaments have allowed, but nonetheless, we are still in the early stages, and there hasn't really been a concrete meta set other than just ban Bacchus. That's really the meta that exists at the moment, and they are obliging by its rules. So comp for comp here, we've got our game plans locked in. Who do you think's got the stronger idea?
Well, now I'm like trying to figure out who's mid lane on the bakery.
That's true, actually. Ymir, obviously. What are you talking about?
It very well could be. I wouldn't hate like a Loki mid here, and they just utilize the Loki and Sasano to rotate around the map and abuse the Sol Ymir early games and try to get leads that way. I think that could be interesting. Overall, the bakery, I think, has a slight edge simply because they have this Odin cage, and I'm not seeing a lot of ways for Elevate 4.5 to actually get out of that beyond dropping the Hecate ult and try and get out in time, or using Jingwei Fenrir to get out.
Gonna have to find out if the song of ice and fire will ring true, or will this bakery have to close its doors early? Game coming at you in just a bit. We're back, baby. Smite Prime, the Advent. I'm D'Lo, joined here by Spooky. It's the bakery up against Elevate. And Spook, it's going to be interesting to see always these dynamics of the sub 30 seconds before the game even begins. Do we anticipate invades? Who will die first? I'm itching to know.
We better see an invade. I mean, you've got a Fenrir and a Mordred on your side here if you're Elevate 4.5. I would love to see them get a little bit aggressive here and try to use that early game damage they have. You can see slightly small Andrew is positioned pretty far forward here, but not far enough forward to be caught out. Instead, they're looking over to this mid lane. Man, is that Loki mid?
Here. They're trying to go for it. I guess so. That is wacky, my friend. And Odin going to check in on his son, say, hey, leave him alone. Just that dad is a bit too defensive of their kid at those PTA meetings. Now Soul trying to engage around the puppy dog. The family dog has their shots, hopefully, because Soul might be in a bit of trouble otherwise. Susano backing off here. Just a bit of an interesting dance here. FG dances? Nah. How about the speed buff dance at sub 19 seconds?
That's what this is really all about. And you can see that Sunder is primed on moods here. He wants to get active and try to steal something away, but even if he's not doing that, even if he's just wasting time for Donut Doug here, he's absolutely fine with that as well. He's just trying to delay things a little bit so that Golden on this Jingwei can get to lane a little bit faster. He still gets it. No, he does not. No.
Oh, no, he did not. Okay, I was about to say, come on, man. That's just so rude. Soul was doing their gosh darndest to try to babysit those buffs. Does not, unfortunately, quite go their way. So it seems that we've got a bit of an interesting position here for the Ymir as well, who's all the way on the other coast of the map. Bit of an absentee parent as they just swing their way through the opposing buffs. This awkward start has resulted in a lot of displacement, and this guy's got 2 belts. He's looking fashionable.
He's looking fashionable. He's looking like he might get caught here. He'll be walking into 2 enemies. Freeze comes through, but Loki is also here.
Oh no, are sure he's gonna be the one getting caught? Looks like the one who just got caught is now making you the catchy instead. And those 2 buffs are gonna be what credits you for it. Have that level 2 already, have that freeze and the glacial strike right afterwards, and a bit more potent there with that red buff wrapped firmly on their side. Gets a little bit of a blessing for your side as well. No, unfortunately, Akate says absolutely not. Stop trying to get yourself that early gold. And it will be obliged. So at the very least, some early pressure here, one for the side of Order.
We've got 3 people in mid before the 2-minute mark, man. Like,
what is going on?
If I'm trying to play mid, if I'm Baronary right now, I absolutely hate what I'm looking at. 3 people pathing through my lane. Like, just get this Ymir over to the left side of the map where he belongs. Oh my.
Are you sure that's what you want? Because Moons is not quite happy about it. Takes a tumble back to the fountain off the gate, and it might just be the same fate. Jingwei meets, no, she reverses it right back. Golden is looking just so brilliant evasion and finds the arrow into the heart of Donut Doug. That's a kill sweeter than any pastry you could ask for.
That was your skill. That was just outplay definition from Golden. Might have a little answer back here on the other side. Slightly small Andrew picks up tank tops. But I mean, you cannot be upset at all if your ADC, your Jingwei of all ADCs, is picking up 2 kills this early in the game. Gives him so much pressure. It's a quick back, use the passive to get back to lane without missing any kind of farm. This does, in fact, keep Elevate in a good spot. They're still down in gold from the invades, but it means they got plenty of fight back. Keep your eyes on this Fenrir.
Oh, going in for the soul already. Donut Dog might be gobbled up once again. Trying to continue to fight back. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to get back to safety here. Instead, it's the mid lane. It's the object of our affections. Pilot crash lands thanks to slightly small Andrew. Retreats back to the mid lane. A nice assassination. Just taking that kill for free. No issue. Bakery back on top.
Now, might be looking at an invade. No. Level 3 still. Doesn't look like Moods is in any position to keep that aggression going. Instead, aggression in the mid lane.
Not going to be enough as Baronary. I thought that it might have the gain on him, but unfortunately Loki a bit too slippery, a bit too quick. Picks up that kill, doubles the amount that Elevative got. Cage drop there, Bird Bomb as well. Shock might just be able to rain dance their way, shimmying and jiving into their tower to safety. Harking back to that dual lane play we saw there, before the cams even started rolling, Spook, we were talking about how Golden, potentially a contender for top ADC in all of Smite 2, and you know what? Hey, that's a pretty good point to their name, you gotta say. That's on the resume.
I mean, he has put it in good writing there. He's taken the pen, put it on paper, and he showed why he got that moniker, why that was even a conversation in the first place. However, Golden also just reset back to base as Moose is trying to aggress. He's not going to get punished for it too badly. I'll take eyes over to this right side here for a moment, though. We've seen constant fighting here so far, D'Lo. It's really just the Bakery trying to set the pace of this game. They know they have a really strong early game, and they're trying to keep that pressure built up. They've gotten themselves 1,000, little more than 1,000 gold lead just under 5 minutes into this game. But the right side of the map isn't really where I'd like to see it being put to, right? Mm-hmm. In the past few games, we've seen what left side pressure can do for you. We've seen how important those Gold Furies are, and they can really stack up. I'd love to see maybe a little bit more aggression from slightly small Andrew over towards this left side of the map.
Aggression's still going to be put on the right side instead. The Typhoon and the Rains. We've got a forecast for some storms, a forecast for some kills too. Shock takes a tumble, but Mordred and Fenrir are going to close it and try to finish the job and avenge their friend. Ragnarok's brought down on the Odin. It's a canon event, and Dishonored will be dishonored by Pilot. Another kill to answer the one rained down on the solo.
5-3 now is the scoreboard. It's still the Bakery holding out a little bit of a lead, though. Elevate is fighting back with tooth and nail, quite literally. Mm-hmm. They're not quite finding the advantage they need here. Might change as Golden looks for the fight here.
Ooh, the airstrike provides good damage there, and now Soul gonna have to answer back once they land. Here comes the bolt. Here comes the supernova. Donut Doug says, back at the bottom of the tier list where you belong.
Yeah, he was not happy about the conversations happening about who's top dog. I mean, that's kind of what you expect, though, from this matchup. These are both very talented ADC players. It's no surprise to see them skirmishing like this. They now see the bakery starting up this Gold Fury. Moods in the area. They've got vision. They've also got a wall in their face.
I mean, running a business is expensive, and Dishonored says we need a bit more of that gold to keep the lights on. They do indeed grab it for the bakery now. Gets them a bit more advantage, but at the very least, Fenrir tried to show some face. I mean, we got to talk about the fact that there's a Loki here in the mid lane, but we didn't really get to expound on it too much. Spooky, when you don't have that traditional mage in your pocket, what's the upside, but what's also the downside, too?
I mean, the easy downside is that you just lose out on a lot of the poke. You don't have access to big burst damage. It's a lot harder to just harass targets from range. You've got Donut Dove on the Soul to kind of make up for that, but Stellar Burst isn't quite the same as a triplicate form coming out from Baronary.
Yeah.
What it does give you is a lot of rotational power. It gives you a lot of assassination potential. Is intended on that. But I'm not sure that I like it a whole lot as this game goes on. It's been working so far, and it is the bakery that's starting to snowball a lead. But they have to really rely on continuing that snowball. Otherwise, I think the lack of range could potentially be a big downfall for them.
At the very least, the Naga saga goes their way, the first chapter in favor of the bakery here, but Soul, unfortunately, might be closing the book on their life, taken up to the skies and slammed back down. Golden finds the final arrow to finish the job. Brilliant gank there by Elevate.
I really think that this is the side to be playing through, because as you mentioned, the bakery does not have a mage, but they do have a teammate in the jaws of Fenrir.
Oh, just bringing back a little bit of a chew toy there. That ice is awfully crunchy, but we'll still take the kill nonetheless. Monster B is finished off there. Susano tries to revenge, and they take it out on Mood. Puppy Dog goes back with their tail between their legs, or their tail chopped off, either one. It's a nice answer back there. Still 1 for 2, though. Elevate do get the better hand of that trade.
Yeah, I think he lost a little bit more than his tail on that one. But it's not just a 2-for-1 trade, right? It's the ADC and support for just a support. Like, you're totally okay just losing Moods on that one. Sure, you don't get the pressure on the tower. You don't get to take that one down. But it does push you a little bit further ahead. And they really needed that trade. Look at the gold deficit right now. It has been steadily growing. We're not even at 10 minutes yet. But the bakery has this macro gameplay down. These are all talented players who are not new to Smite, despite the 2 being new. They've been around the block, and they know what they're looking for and what buttons they're trying to press to build up these incremental advantages. Here's how you answer that back.
Oh, just trying to press the advantage onto the Soul. More just going to run through some walls for fun. You know, just a little bit of a nice little Klima tribute. You can appreciate that. And you can certainly appreciate another kill brought down on the God of the Sun. That being said, this bakery's profit margin is still quite nice. Trying to look to rack up some more stonks here on the right side. It's been a tale of both coasts seeing violence. And here comes the storm. Here comes the boom. Here comes the death. Slightly small Andrew getting some slightly big damage numbers and just trying to keep that pressure up on this right side.
Tank Tops definitely been struggling a little bit here on this right side. And how can you really blame them when 3 people are visiting your lane? Just deciding, hey, we really just kind of want you to be on the gray screen for a bit. All you really get to do is press 4, say, please no, and if they decide that they still want to do it, then there's not much you can do about that. The bright side is, Tank Tops shouldn't mind that too much, right? He's a tank. He'll keep on building tanky items, and he'll keep on sustaining in that lane. All he has to do is not let that Phoenix get exposed and allow Golden to keep on scaling, because that's their win con.
Oh no, Donut Dog's getting exposed after all this damage. Just raining down their head once again. The gank's successful. They try to retreat. Here comes the follow-up. Fenrir might be in a bit of trouble here, but of course that Unchained trying to make sure they're not put back in shackles. Unfortunately, that wall traps them, and they're put back to the grayscale themselves. So, another 1-for-1 trade, but like you said, Spook, you're trading your carry for your support. It's a trade they're all too happy to make here. If you just keep losing your soul, those Embers of Revolt are going to die out.
Any 1-for-1 trade when you're at a deficit is an acceptable loss at that point. You're slowing them down. You're getting something back for yourself. If you make it a favorable trade and trade out a higher priority target than what you gave up, golden, if you don't mind me saying. But now keep your eyes on the map, Because after all that is said and done, Fury backed up, and it's the Bakery who are there first. And this is what's going to be critical for Elevate 4.5. They can't be losing these objectives for free.
Oh, Fenrir just going to arrive only to watch it go down once again. That's 2 Furies in their pocket, now 11 minutes. 9-7 be the scoreboard. Puts them up about 5,000 in the lead, so it's looking pretty solid for their side. You know what I'm seeing? You're telling us to look at the map. I'm saying look at those relics, my friend. 3 combat blinks here on the side of Chaos.
They have been showing that they're here to play aggressive. And that was something that Blaze was talking about in game number 1, right? Sure, the defensive uses of Combat Blink are very obvious.
Of course.
So are the combat uses. You can get aggressive and just close distances incredibly quickly to put yourself in a great position, whether it's to land some CC, to look for a flank, and just obliterate someone from behind. There's a lot to keep your eyes on, and unfortunately, it seems that Tank Tops has gone down once again.
We're not a fan of that form of fashion. We say, no, I like sleeves on my shirts, and I like gods being snapped up in my gullet. Ymir could be in a bit of trouble there, but puts down the nice little toadstool to get some more health, and that's going to ensure the Frost Giant's safety. Just going to try to play this one slow, waiting in the wings. You have the rotation, members of the Bakery looming, trying to take down this Hecate. It's going to be a lot of damage drop down. The Shards of Ice going to ensure their fend, and Baronary just trying to put a bit more tower damage on the back end. All my homies eat, even the structures, unfortunately, won't quite save their life.
Man, that could have been such a good ult if there was literally anyone from Elevate 4.5 around Baronary in that moment. 4 people got hit. 4 people got transported very safely under the enemy tower with no one there to even think about punishing them, unlike Donut Doug getting punished by some crits from Golden.
It's just rough. I mean, Donut's already got a hole in him. And Shingway's just trying to put 17 more. So best watch out. This guy's got the Draco. This guy's got the clip. Susano's maybe got the gank. Mordred's got the ult. And Soul's got the jukes. Manages to get out of that one. You can't pursue the weak any longer because you could find yourself in the gray skiing yourself. Fenrir makes that rotation a bit too late to the scene. Ensures the carry won't die this time.
Bro, forget pursue the weak. His ankles were weak after the way Donut Duck just broke them with the combat blink. Let's see Loki aggressing onto Baronary once again under the tower here. Gonna be able to pick up that kill. He might still go back for it under there, but Baronary gets it back. Yar falls. Man, like this game is just consistently back and forth the entire time. Look how low Baronary is. He's picked up the Breastplate of Valor. He understands what kind of matchup he's in. There's 2, not necessarily assassins anymore, but we're going to call them what they are. 2 assassins on the other side. The only real source of magical damage you're worried about is Donut Doug, and he's all the way on the left side, and he's being kept in check by Golden and Pilot both.
Hey, don't be slacking on the Ymir damage, bro. Them Shards of Ice do numbers. But no, you're absolutely correct. And every single time that Soul dies, you start to fear that magical side of the damage spectrum just a little bit less. But at the very least, Ymir trying to contribute in their own ways. Gets themselves a little gift to their team. You know, love languages. Not everyone's a big fan of the gift giving, but at the very least, Ymir trying to do what they can. Now, almost 15 minutes into this game, 11-8, the side of the Bakery. Still about a 4,000 gold lead. We'll take that. That's solid. They just got to try to expound on it. Odin trying to expound on their damage numbers, but everyone's lurking towards this right side as FG crops up.
Yeah, let me tell you, this does not look super great for Dishonored, but it might not be panning out the way Elevate 4.5 want here.
Oh no, brought back once again. It's the Cannon event. Will it repeat? We have to find out. Still staying alive. Drops the cage as well, so the utilities here. Mordred just bobbing and weaving, threads the needle. That's not what you wanted to see. Gonna be able to find 2 targets at the very least. Gets the damage on there. Teleported back, only to be sent back to the fountain the hard way. It's gonna be Monster B, Dishonored Yarn out of it, and Tank Tops, of course, what did we expect, is gonna be the one sacrificed for the claim. But a beautiful fight by Elevate. Elevates themselves back into a position where they can look for the objective. They're trying to take down the FG. It's only Susano to stand up against them, but the winds of change are blowing. Donut Doug destroys a tower in the meantime, but that's not what they're worried about. We've got our minds on the objective at hand. Susano chased across the map here by Mordred. He's the table breaker, the ankle breaker, unfortunately on his side, but at this least, at this time, FG goes down to Elevate.
I cannot believe Pilot actually found a way to connect that ult onto 2 people. And that is absolutely what gets them to this Fire Giant. Takes them up into the air just long enough for Baronary to drop those portals and bring them back as soon as they land. The CC chain was phenomenal. The damage was exactly where it needed to be. And now they're in a position where they can actually start fighting back against the Bakery. They can be the aggressors now that they have this Fire Giant. Sure, they're still about 4,000 gold down. They're at a deficit. But Fire Giant is the great equalizer, D'Lo. They're in position to start taking these towers down. And as those towers fall, so too will that deficit. This is what Elevate needs in order to turn this game around. Sure, they lost out on 3 Furies, but that just means they can now play for the Ancient Fury. And they have to make sure they're not giving that one up.
Absolutely. For anyone who does not remember, Ancient Fury disables the structures on the enemy side of the map. It just completely shuts down your ability to rely on those towers and phoenixes. So it's going to be incredibly pivotal once it crops up. And you're right, piloting that ultimate beautifully. Pursue the weak hits too. And it's not just the damage that it does, but it's also the time you're spending up in the sky. It's so long that you can't have the Ymir back you up. You can't have Odin to provide some extra stuns, and it leaves the back line vulnerable. So the question is then, what's the strategy for the Bakery to come up with the next team fight W?
I mean, it's pretty much what they've been doing. It's now a lot harder because what the Bakery has been doing is just isolating targets and taking them down with superior numbers. At this point, LA 4.5, they are grouped up in their entirety, and they're pushing down this left side. Baker's answer seems to be to try to split the map a little bit, put some pressure on that mid lane. And surprisingly, with only 3 strong on this left side, Elevate's actually taking the step back. I don't like that too much.
Well, they did split the skull of Pilot too in the mid lane. Might be recognizing the fact that, hey, Susano and Loki could very well be coming, and we won't even see it happen. So just trying to remain cautious, which, like you said, it's a bit of unfortunate case to see that hesitance on the team with the FG, but they're not used to being with the lead. They're not used to setting the tempo, and sometimes it's learned helplessness. All you know is to retreat, so when you have that upper hand, you don't quite know what to do with it. Let's see what you can do with this Odin in your mouth. Tries to fetch it back, but unfortunately the walls, the electric fence, gonna zap the puppy some. Still gonna be enough damage, though, on Dishonored to take them down.
And they said, all right, maybe we don't know how to progress onto the tier 2, but that's just because there's a tier 1 that's still standing, and we want to make sure that falls before we go any further. There's all a bait and switch. Get the Bakery to step forward just a little bit, just into the waiting jaws of moods. But despite really kind of struggling throughout the early game, has been phenomenal pretty much throughout the entirety of the mid game. As we start to approach the late game, normally this is where the Fenrir starts to fall off, but this guy is building full tank. He is just looking to facilitate his team. He's looking to jump in, get the stuns, and make sure these targets are easy to hit. Portals come through, beads get forced.
That was brilliant work there. Hey, if you get the beads, that's a long cooldown. You get the kill, that's still a long death timer too. Shock throws some axes just to remind him that he's still lurking around. Mordred takes down a nice tower on that right side as well. Equalizes that map state. Does not seem like Elevate want to force the issue too much further. They melt back into the jungle.
To clarify, not technically beads. It is a different active item carried by Monster B to give himself and some teammates some CC immunity. Functionally the same, but it's a long cooldown that's now not available. And it's a longer cooldown than Hagate's ultimate is. I can guarantee you that. This should be the time for Elevate to start looking aggressive, but Fire Giant has fallen off as well. They're still at a deficit, so they can't be too reckless with things. They have to be mindful about where they're positioning. Ancient Fury, now the target here. This is where Elevate 4.5 has to put their stakes, and this is already getting shredded down.
They have 2 Sunders as well. They're going to grab the Odin once again. Dishonored must feel awfully disrespected, but it's going to be the Fury going their way on the side of Bakery. Storm Call, though, brought in the sky, so they can't even get that damage. No way they get out to safety. Dishonored because they'll take another tumble back to base. At the very least, though, your sacrifice is going to bring some big dividends here. A nice Ancient Fury call there for Bakery.
Tough call from Elevate to pick up Dishonored and take him back to the team. If they just kept pushing forward there, they could have contested that Fury a lot more efficiently. But instead, they wasted time trying to melt this Odin down. He doesn't go down easily at all. We saw in action there. And that gave, despite Sutter being completely CC'd and helpless for the duration, gave Bakery all the time in the world to shred that Ancient Fury down. Now this Fire Giant is being started, but it's a risky one. Look at the positioning.
I mean, we've got Sunder for Sunder here since one was sacrificed by the Bakery prior, and now Jingwei's in the sky. Supernova's dropped down, so is Baronary, so is Moods. Not quite a good mood for ya. Golden's been wiped away by Yar. Huge shutdown. Shock's gotta wander away. Please try to save the tank tops for later. Everyone needs some clothes to just get back into after they spawn back. FG. Now going to be next on the mark here. Shock still in the back lines. Odin might discover them while they try to retreat back. They managed to actually get in base. It's now only Mordred alongside them left alive, but FG will go down to the Bakery.
And that right there, that is an example of how you approach these objective fights. When you see a team is starting that objective up, you got to be there. And you can't try to focus on those tanks. You have to just get in and disrupt the objective shred. Bakery puts on a masterclass, and now this Phoenix could be in some danger, but Tank Tops has to try to get back to safety. He's okay for now. This just put the Bakery right back into the driver's seat. It is now so difficult for Elevate to claw their way back into this game because these structures, they're not going to last long against a team that is, what, 8,000 gold ahead with Fire Giant around their waist, 3-4 man strong pushing them down. It's just going to keep pushing that gold lead ever further. Sure, we're approaching the ends of our builds. The Bakery is approaching it a lot faster.
Actually approaching the end of this game here, Spook. 23 minutes, 16-13. The kill differential's not even that shabby, but then you look at the gold, and it's a lot scarier. About 9,000 here on our friends, the Bakery. So defensively, that's where we're going to be seeing this comp for a while for Elevate. What do you think is their biggest hope and key?
Right now, their biggest advantage for Elevate is to stay under their Phoenix and use their range advantage. What Bakery has to do is get under those Phoenixes and take targets out. Baronary should be the first target for Bakery simply because of the displacement he has and the ability to just kind of disrupt an entire fight. After that, it's Golden, obviously, as the biggest damage dealer. But you have to get to him, and you have to be healthy first. And that is something that the composition they've drafted doesn't do super well. It's pretty heftily mitigated by their lead at this point, where they can just kind of put Monster B in front of themselves and say, hey, walk at those guys. It's still something they have to be cautious about. They can't throw their health bars to the wind. Right now, it's all down to Elevate, playing cautiously, getting vision up, making sure they don't let anyone sneak around between those Phoenix walls, and just trying to keep that damage up.
I mean, Baker also playing this rather cautiously themselves. They're not really acting like they have the FG in their pockets, because you see it's Elevate instead being the ones to force this issue. Might just be waiting for this Ancient Fury instead. You do have 2 Sunders versus 1 once again, but you got 2 Blinks versus 3, and that goes to favor of Elevate. So they surely win it. Susano in the meantime is pushing down this right side. You might need all your numbers for this fight, but if you could stall out long enough, potentially have to force Mordred to back, and indeed they shall. So at this point here, you got the Toadstool dropped, but will any bodies fall to the floor as well is the question.
And the Ancient Fear just throws such a wrench in any Phoenix defense, because you have to step forward and be willing to defend this. And already, Health Bar getting shredded. Tank Tops in a terrible spot.
And you have the Fury just forgotten. We're all looking to take down the Shock instead. Damage raining down. That's a thematic consistency right there. Storm Call can't be evaded by the Storm Kata. That's okay. I'll just use it to slice off your head. And the Shock goes down. Now it's a 4v5 here. Can you continue the aggression? Fury Guts unleashed once again, but we're looking for kills instead. Baronary taken off with the quickness. Ymir takes a quick trip to the sky. That's a-okay. I'm ready to send you 6 feet down under, buddy. Donut just takes that Fury for themselves in the meantime. No issue there for the Bakers, and Yar's looking to cook up a nice double kill. Golden as well as Moods go down. Only one remaining here is the Mordred, but I'm not sure if you can do too much about it at this point. The Phoenix just has to stand there passively. That's bird abuse as it goes down. 5 members walk in here to try to prove their mettle. The bakery's not closing today. They're going to be moving on. Finishes the job for the Deicide. That's a game victory for the bakery.
Now, this has just been brutal for Elevate. And it really comes down to, I said in the beginning, I didn't like how much attention was being put over towards that right side. But quite frankly, it works out phenomenally. Tank Tops was not able to do anything throughout that game. Anytime he tried to step up, got completely shredded apart, had no health, could not be that wall that his team needed him to be. And not really his fault. There's a big deficit to try to fight into, and a lot of damage coming through. Slightly Small Andrew put on an absolute phenomenal show. 8, 0, and 9. Part of so many of those kills, undying throughout the entire thing. And it just goes to show you how much that snowball can roll up and just enlarge itself.
Especially when you got the God of Ice on your team. It just makes sense. Song of Ice and Fire here, coming soon, hopefully if George gets back to writing. But we already have plenty of script written out for us so far. And it's looking to be a beautiful one here for the bakery if they can just keep that play going. The key to the success, it really was just that mobility we saw. And we had some reasons, some question marks about it. You mentioned the fact that mobility is nice, but you're sacrificing range. At the end of the day, what do you think allowed them to still take advantage and not really feel those downsides of their comp?
It was just how effectively they played the early game. They were able to get so active, not just in the lanes, but they were able to take so much farm away. In just the first jungle rotation, we saw Monster B walking at back camps, stripping it away, and that allowed them to just play very aggressively and excel themselves forward. Slightly Small Andrew had a field day. Look, there are 4 people level 20 on the bakery. There is 1 person level 20 on Elevate 4.5. It all starts at that first camp rotation.
They just kept that pressure going. We had some snags, some speed bumps there for Donut Doug. Golden trying to prove why they're top 5 in the carry. And you know what? I still think they made some brilliant arguments to the fact that first double kill they found was mint. Definitely got to be clipping that one, adding it to your highlight reel. But unfortunately, the reels footage stops here for Elevate. The bakery move on, and we're going to be moving on in a second to the next game. Don't you go anywhere. After the break, we got semifinals coming right at you.
Welcome back, everybody, for another game. In fact, this is going to be the semifinals. It's me, Blaze McBain, and with me we have Spooky Mars, ready to talk about Bello versus Team with 5 M's. Spooky, we are slowly but surely working our way to the finals. How are you feeling about this upcoming game?
This is quite possibly the best game we're going to see so far in this tournament here, Blaine. This season, we are stacked rosters. We've got SCC talent. We've got SPL talent coming out from both sides of this game. I'm not surprised by the bans whatsoever. What I'm really interested to see is how these guys are going to be approaching the draft. We've already seen Bello once so far. Phenomenal performance. They looked great. We have not gotten to see Team But With 5 M's. Unless you're a fan of the SPL, which, if you're here, I hope you are, because you might see some names you recognize. EBM, Cyclone Spin, Benny Q, Scream. This is a banger, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think you're going to get a more fun semifinals match than this. Like, this is just super exciting to watch. You're going to see some builds that you might have not seen before unless you've been watching some of the tournaments. But you're also just going to see high-level play in Smite 2, which we all love to see. But I do have to highlight the fact that we have seen Sasano 2 times on the stream tonight. It is locked in yet again, and it has went undying thus far on the cast.
It has been putting up some very good performances. One thing we've been seeing is that it's either not going against the Fenrir or the Fenrir is like in support. What I'd really like to see is match these two X-Assassins into the jungle and try to match what the Susanoo does with the aggression from the Fenrir. Maybe not, rotating with him, but bringing that same level of lethality across the map. With the Ymir locked in, who knows? It could be a support Ymir, it could be a solo Ymir, it could even be a jungle Ymir.
I'm assuming and like hopeful that it's solo or support. If it's jungle Ymir, I feel like that's just a little bit troll in this matchup. But we're going to see our first look at Kurnanos today too. And Kurnanos, like I've seen a lot of people either really love this god or they felt like it's just mediocre at best. Have you had a chance to play Kurnanos or play against him to feel either way on that front?
Kurnanos feels pretty much the same as he did in Smite number 1, right? His kit's pretty much exactly the same. He was good in Smite 1. I think he's still good in Smite 2. He's still an effective ADC, still has a lot of utility, still has great CC with the Great Hunt there. And you combine it with an Ares and the Hecate as well. This looks like a phenomenal draft to me, and this is the first time we've seen Bologna so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this comp, and the amount of CC that involves moving the enemy team around feels really, really good for a team, but with 5Ms. But we finally get to see this Bologna, and you're like, okay, well, the enemy team has Neith and Soul, they have 2 auto attackers, but you now that have that in the form of Kurnanos and one of your tanks. And sometimes when Bologna gets in there in your face, you start regretting the idea that there's an AA warrior on the enemy side. If you look at these 2 drafts, are you favoring one over the other here, Spooky?
I mean, I do favor team but with 5Ms here. The amount of team play ultimates they have, and like you mentioned, the amount of displacement they have is very effective. And sure, Bello does have some ways to deal with that on most of their characters. This Neith, probably going to be feeling a lot of danger coming out from this Ares, from this Bologna, from the Susanoo. They're going to target this Neith. She doesn't have a lot of tools to really get away from them. If you get shackled by this Ares, you're pretty much cooked. You have to have beads or stay out of range. And those 2 things are not always possible.
Yeah, we definitely have to keep an eye on the Neith here. Can Chalk get involved in well with that silence? We'll find out as we head into the game for this semifinal bout, heading into the finals to see who can take it all here in this first Smite 2 Smite Prime.
And one thing I'm expecting to see,
Oh, what's up? Go ahead.
I'm expecting to see a lot more of this invading. Look at the Sunders, C2 on each side, but look over here at Bello.
It's a 5-stack. Oh boy. They are getting spicy early. But it looks like they're going to back off, decide not to make the play here. But maybe not. I mean, Cherry gets a little aggressive there, hits a couple autos, refuses to let him back. But I like the idea. Let's 5-stack run it down. But now the invade on the other side for team with 5Ms is a little bit easier on that purple and speed side.
And that's the danger of these groupings, right? You got to be so very careful about where you decide to do it. And I really feel like if you're going to group up on one side, you kind of have to make a commitment to that. You have to be willing to take that step forward and be the aggressor. You have to be willing to step up and drive the enemy back or force them to expend something. Otherwise, you could end up giving up too much on the other side. Now, Bello does reset in time to kind of even everything out there. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, nothing lost here. There is still a small skirmish happening around the blue on the right side. So who knows?
Yeah, it's like we have a little bit of fight everywhere. We saw Rongyu decide to fight near this yellow buff in the previous game that we got to watch Bello, and it was against an Ares last time too. Kind of funny just to watch this running around, and it seems at this point PBM's going to go, okay, that was fun for the time being. I'm going to head to lane now and get some farm. But looking at these relics that we have, we see Aegis on the side of Bello, but on the other side, we see the more aggressive use of Blink here. Do you expect that one's going to favor the other in these comps?
I think this is exactly kind of what you should have expected to see from both these teams. Bello is absolutely with a draft that needs to play a little bit more defensively. They need to have those defensive options. And I do like the choice to take the Aegis over something like the Beads, simply because they have the CC immunity in their kits already. But there's so much CC on the side of team, but with 5Ms, that they pretty much have to expect they're going to get caught by something. So take the Aegis, combines very well with Soul, but Cherry goes down early.
Yeah, Jangara makes that rotation on the Fenrir. This is what we talked about we wanted to see. Like, okay, let's see what it's like to see the Fenrir versus the Susano. And right now, it's the Fenrir off with the early lead, and it's pressure over in the dual lane here for Tuba and Rongu on this tower, but a rotation's coming in here by Scream. And Scream's looking to get active early. Can they get somebody? They have one. They might get two. Tuba is gone. And it looks like, you know, we might get Rongu as well. There's the fire. There's the dash in. Can you finish it off?
Oh, no.
Someone has to. Surely. You don't let the Ice Giant just walk away.
Oh, do they do it?
No, they let it
Apparently
go.
they let him
That's
walk
crazy.
away.
They let him walk away. He shattered their dreams, some would say. But with that being said, you know, do you think Scream has to get off to a very early start here, or do you think you just try to roll with the tide of just letting the Fenrir make it through the early game and then just kind of deal with the mid and late?
It depends on how well this Fenrir starts rolling, right? If he's absolutely obliterating a lane, yeah, Scream has to make sure something's happening on the other side. If his team can play safe, kind of turtle under these towers and not allow this Fenrir to find too many opportunities, or at least make him take riskier ganks, you can afford to scale up. Susano is a flexible god in that regard. You would always prefer to get off to a rip-roaring start and push your team ahead, but it's not an absolute necessity, especially with how defensive Bello is going to have to play as this game goes on. The Scream is going to make his presence known.
Yeah, Scream hits him, but look at this. Here comes Jangara trying to turn something around, and there are low health bars on the side of team with 5Ms, but not enough to make you go, I can get a kill out of this and survive. You don't want to drop 2 kills in that solo lane, so we'll retreat for the time being. Meanwhile, Rongu is getting aggressive over towards these buffs again, and I like this style of play from Rongu, being able to go in and just really contest these buffs. And Jangara actually comes away with another kill. He stayed.
And Jangaru knows his pacing, right? He knows when there's an opportunity and when he needs to back off. Trust the Scream wouldn't be sticking around for all too long there. And this is a really nice pickup for Rem specifically. Allows him to get back to this lane and try to catch a little bit of farm, although I think it was actually taken by Jangaru, so maybe scratch that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jangara made the right move. Like, hey, I don't want to let minions push this tower.
Right.
I'm already here. Let me get the farm. I'm really surprised Cherry stepped up far enough to get picked there. But now this is where you have to worry about Fenrir. Because Fenrir, he wants to be able to go in and get those ultimates off. Who do you think he's going to focus here between these 3 lanes?
He's got to be looking at Noloran on this Neath. It's the only one who doesn't have guaranteed ways of getting out of it. He doesn't even have bees, actually. He's got the Aegis, which, again, I did mention that I do like that decision. But it means that if you get picked up, if you get aggressed upon, Noloran has no way out of that. If Unchained connects and it's a stun, it's guaranteed going into the Ragnarok, guaranteed you're being taken away. And I'm not sure that even an Aegis is going to save you at that point. If your team isn't there to back you up, Noloran is absolutely going to die off of that. I just said all that, and he's on the same team. What am I talking about, Blaze?
But that's okay. It's okay, because Noloran, you do have to worry about that even with the Susano. I mean, it's a favorable point. But Jangaru's here. Jangaru's looking at Cherry again, and, you know, he's found his favorite snack. It's literally running down this Bellona and saying, hey, guess what? Who's there? Just playing knock-knock, and, you know, it's Fenrir again, jumping over and taking you out.
In the meantime, though, team with 5Ms looking at this Gold Fury. Oh my god!
Oh no! Rongu stepped up, found out, and not in the way you wanted to. And this looks like it's going to open up that Gold Fury just completely for team of 5Ms. And they're going to pick up Tuba just for a little bit of extra gold on the side. A 2 for nothing and a Gold Fury has to feel pretty good here if you're team with 5Ms. But look at the gold difference here, Spooky. It's not a lot. Meanwhile, Scream's trying to go in. Are we going to get what we talked about earlier? No, Jangaru will bail him out.
Yeah, Bella has been doing a good job of building up a little bit of a lead. They're playing very aggressive. Mind you, they had a 2-kill lead right before this. Might be seeing that come back. Susano in a terrible spot. Scream. Gonna get caught. Rongu gets the credit for that one. Not the worst thing in the world for team, but with 5Ms. Still not a great look to lose your jungler right after that Gold Fury, though. Loses them a lot of pressure, denies him the reset. That aggression might just keep on going.
Yeah, Jangara is looking just to be active everywhere all the time. It's going to find Cyclone Spin this time. And that Devos is actually paying off here, I feel like. You know, do you value the lifesteal for the Fenrir, or do you think Tekko Kage, where you're getting the movement speed and the cooldown for Sasano, is one of them paying off more than the other here?
I personally prefer the Tekko Kage. I think it's just a little bit more effective. I don't hate... Okay, I kind of hate the Devour's Gauntlets route for this Fenrir, but I'm not going to criticize Jingaru for going. He's a better player than I am. All I can say is that I'm not quite seeing what he's cooking up here. But I do think that Tekko Kage just has a little bit more value with the move speed and the ability to just run these targets down. And more importantly, when you use abilities, that move speed means that when you pop Ragnarok, it gets you back to your team with your target a lot faster. So far, that hasn't really been an issue. Might be something we have to keep our eyes on as the game progresses, though, as we start grouping up around more and more of these objectives.
I mean, Queen Naga being aggressed on here. Didn't look like Team of 5Ms was going to step up, but here they are. Hecate ult's used. It's off the mark here. Doesn't pull anybody, but it does leash the Naga to them. And here comes the rotation. They will get that buff. So, yeah, they didn't have to do all the damage, sadly. Sadly, Nolaron isn't able to jump over that wall. We did talk about it earlier. There are some walls you can backflip over. It feels really good. That is unfortunately not one of them here. But when they have that Queen Naga buff now, those soldiers, where are they going to put the pressure on the map? Do you think they're going to wait for the next Gold Fury with it, or do you think they start pushing towards a tower?
I think they should just wait for the next Gold Fury. It's not too far away from coming up. They don't really have pressure in any lane to really be aggressive there. They can afford to buy their time. Team of 5Ms, they are now a little bit ahead, not enough to write home about. They're starting to turn things around a little bit as Jingaru might change that story.
Oh my goodness, Jingaru is literally bullying Cherry right now. It just comes over, ganks on cooldown. No escape being channeled out here. This is the damage they need, though. They should be able to pick up one. Rem is gone. They're not going to find Jingaru. Jingaru is able to back off for the time being. But this Fenrir, 4-0-2, has to be feeling pretty good at this point. But meanwhile, you know, we haven't got to talk a lot about Benny-Q. Is at 0-0-0, and that feels pretty good here if you're the Hecate, because it's not like you have a ton of movement. You have a shield that you can use, but you have a good bit of displacement as well. As Rongyu now getting aggressive out of the tier 1, it looks like it could be problematic for Cyclone Spin. Does get a good blink out. Can you survive? Can you turn it around for a kill? Does make it a 1-for-1. And at least that makes the trade a little bit more worth it, as Cherry and Scream are making the rotation. Do they catch out Tuba? It looks like that's going to be the case here. Not a lot of places to escape. Gets pulled back in and put down. Tuba will pay for the transgressions of trying to get that tier 1 tower and a kill.
Actually turns that around and makes it in favor of Team with 5Ms at that point. At the start, you trade an ADC for support. Not great. Now at the end of it, it's a 2-for-1. You're more than happy with that. You've held on to the tower. Blow, Sif Breeze could knock it over, and once Tuba comes back up and actually gets pressure in that lane, it will be falling. But it does mean you have a little bit more time where you can take a step up and position around this Gold Fury. You come up before Tuba, you get there before Bellow. This should be the time to use those Nagas.
Yeah, I think this is a good play here. Like, group around the Gold Fury, force them to step over here, contest you. I do think it's worth noting, we're going to see our first use of anti-heal. Brawler's Beat Stick is online here, and this is for Scream on that Sasano. I don't think it's something I've seen a ton of in games. I built it a couple times. I don't know if a ton of people are aware that it is auto-attack and ability-based now, anti-heal, but are you surprised to see it this early, Spooky?
No, not at all. I mean, look what you're up against. You've got Rem on the Chalk, that's a lot of healing. Tuba's got a lot of healing on the Soul. He's also built Devour's Gauntlet, so he's got the lifesteal on top. You've got Nolaron trying to heal himself. Fenrir's got healing. Fenrir's now got someone in his jaws.
Oh my goodness, going in as Jangara happens to get out thanks to the Hecate ult. And now it's going to put Rongyu in a little bit of trouble here. Great wall to separate himself from the rest of the team there. But now it's a Gold Fury pull here by Team with 5Ms. Can Rongu step up with the rest of the team? Bello trying to make a play, trying to make a steal on the Gold Fury here. They're there. They get the... And Rongu actually does steal it away. The Ice Giant says, hey, that's mine. And now decides, maybe, could we run it down a little bit? Decides against it. Tuba chasing down Cyclone Spin. But that's a great steal here for Bello.
Man, Rongu just plays so aggressively all the time. I love it. I do feel like Team with 5Ms could have played that a little bit more aggressively, stayed on the other side, because they did do a good bit of damage to the health bars of Bello, but maybe not feeling super confident in the follow-up fight just because of how many resources they had to use to get that advantage. But I mean, if you look at things, Scream is 2 levels up on Jengaru right now. Cyclone Spin is like half a level down on Tuba. It's not terrible. They can absolutely take those aggressive positionings and challenge Bello as they step forward. Instead, they kind of just let Rongu walk at them without punishing him whatsoever. They didn't try to pick the Ymir for stepping forward. They simply tried to burn down the Gold Fury. Those just aren't 50-50s you can really take when Sunder is a thing in the game.
Yeah, I was really surprised they didn't step up, but I wonder if they just like, hey, we don't know what one person is. If we step up, there's the risk of us, getting bopped and then turned around on. We don't really want to lose Gold Fury and lives here. Meanwhile, PBM will take his first spill of the game as they all team up to go ahead and push him down. Nolaron now 2-0-1, working on what looks like it's going to be Boca Toth and Transcendence, a build that we talked about earlier on in the evening. We haven't got to see a ton of. But now, Rongu is under the tower. Great Hecate all here by BennyQ. They can't seem to find a kill. Rongu is going to make it out by the hair on his chinny chin chin. Holy smokes. The man's playing super aggressive and just getting away with it. And it looks like Team with 5Ms will get themselves out. And, they don't get the kill, but they save their tower for the time being.
It's really good plays coming out from BennyQ and Scream. The problem is there hasn't been a whole lot of follow-up off of them, right? That was a great ult from BennyQ. Put Nolaron in a terrible spot. Rongu should have died. But Scream wasn't quite in position to capitalize on the teleport. There was no one else coming in for it. It's kind of just Team but with 5Ms allowing Bello to play their game right now. It almost feels like they're just challenging them to allow them to scale up because they feel so comfortable in the team fighting portion of this game. We haven't seen a real 5-on-5 just yet. We've seen groupings, make no mistake. We haven't seen the teams group up and take that step forward and say, this is our intent. We want the fight. We've seen some skirmishes over the Gold Fury. We've seen people group up to protect a player. But I really want to see what Team with 5Ms can do when they make that switch and they take that step forward and they look to get aggressive, because I think that's really where this team comp shine.
I agree. I think they've just been biding their time. Here comes the ult from Nolaron. Does it connect and actually give us something up the back end of it? Not for now. Cyclone Spin gets hit. They lose a tower, but now Rongu is in trouble here. Under half health. The Frost Giant is getting absolutely ran down. Here comes PBM. He connects with one. He doesn't connect with the other somehow. Ymir is on the move to get out. Jengaru goes in. Jengaru's gonna find a kill here. Cyclone Spin is gone. It looked like the fight was going in favor of Team with 5Ms. They get turned on its head a little bit, but now here comes the rotation in from the other members. There goes two. It's a 2-for-1 for the time being. Jengaru trying to find a way in. Nolaron's in trouble, has to backflip out, but is it going to be enough? They seem to live for another day, but Cherry says, remember all those times you ganked me? I'm coming over the wall. Hecate ult is good. It connects. BennyQ picks him up. Jengaru is gone. And now Neath is the one under aggression. PBM walks away with a kill as well. Rem picks up one. The Chalk, it had made the rotation, is very healthy here. The solos will play a slap fight, but we see Team with 5Ms finally get that grouping spooky, and it looks like it might be a little spooky.
Fantastic fight coming out from Team with 5Ms. They lose both backliners. Cyclone and Benny both go down, so there's not too much of a push off of the back of that. But Scream absolutely tore through that fight. I don't know if you were seeing the damage he was putting out. Anyone he looked at simply disappeared. The fact that he got out of it as well is absolutely criminal. He had the sliver of health to his name. Really, I think that fight goes a lot differently if PBM was able to grab Rongu with the no escape as well. The fact that it didn't connect was very surprising to me. And I do think that's why that fight ends up lasting as long as it did, because otherwise, Rongi wasn't looking great when that ult went off. Could have melted him down and taken out all that CC, all that health bar, and probably cleaned things up very nicely. And now they put themselves in good position. It's back to the Gold Fury.
Can Rongi steal another one away? I mean, he's here by himself at the moment, but, you know, he's not going to get that frosted day. He's going to let that one go. Oh, Nolaron backflips a little bit early there. I don't know if that's the move. Obviously, Team of 5Ms don't know about it. But, man, if they decide to get aggressive there, that could have got turned on its head real fast. Nolaron looking to channel an ult, possibly looking for a fight. Look at the positioning here. Out of Bello, they are aggressively positioned on the right side here. And it looks like, are they looking towards Cherry?
I might be looking to try to take this tier 1 in the mid lane down. Maybe just looking for the invade on blue buff. They get that one no problem. Cherry does run into them. Queen Naga's leashed on the other side. But so far, Team of 5Ms not actually taking a step forward into anything, right? Cherry runs into an invade. That's no worries. We're going to hold on to this tier 1 tower. They bugger off into the jungle. We're still going to hold on to this tower because we care more about positioning around this right side and not giving up any stupid deaths. They make sure to keep their health bars alive. Look at where they're at right now. They're already on this fire giant. Rem has no idea.
No, I mean, they had no idea. None. I mean, like, Rongi was backing in mid lane as they pulled fire. They had no idea. No wards, no coverage. And they just get to walk out with one scot-free there. That has to feel good if you're a team with 5Ms. Ancient Fury is going to be the next Gold Fury. They already have 2 in their favor. If they get this third here, this might be a little problematic here for Bello.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough fight, too, because right now, it is Team with 5Ms in the driver's seat. They pushed themselves a little bit further ahead with that gold. And now they got the Fire Giant. Obviously, the Ancient Fury is not going to be up for a little bit still, but they've got plenty of time to start taking down these towers. There's still 2 tier 1s on the left side and the middle lane. That's standing gold that Team with 5Ms can simply feed into their pockets. And this is where they're going to be the strongest. We've talked about it before. The 5-man grouping is what we want to see. Benny Q still in mid lane. Cherry still on the right side. But it's all because they know where Bello is at. They're trying to split this map a little more effectively. Ults get traded out 1 for 1 there. Benny Q gonna hold on to tier 2.
Yeah, but tier 2 and left is absolutely just gone here. It's 3 members of the 5Ms. And, you know, finally Bello backs, but they're not going to find anybody. They're all gone. They're all gone. Really good play here by Team of 5Ms. And I'm looking through builds right now, Spooky. Is there anything that seems surprising to you or that you're excited to see here in these builds?
I see a ward. I'm always excited to see those.
You know, I'm also excited to see wards. That is very, very true.
I mean, I am actually still looking at Jungaru's build here. He has finally picked up the Tekokage, but it's very late into the build. He's kind of gone this hybrid with the Shifter Shield. He's also got the Hydra's Lament in there. So he's definitely looking to weave those basics and utilize the cooldowns. It's an interesting build. I'm not sure I've seen one like it before. It's typically either full-on bruiser, tank. Hydra's Lament is new to me, but I kind of like what I'm seeing just because he's so effective at weaving those basics in there. It really brings out the damage potential in the Howl. Yeah. I'm not sure how useful it's going to be against the 5-man grouping here. This is where Fenrir, I think, really starts to struggle, and it's where a tankier build is usually more valuable. Because once you get into these big team fights, it's very easy to blow this Fenrir up. And if you jump in wrong, if you jump in front of PBM on this Ares, you're pretty much useless at that point.
Yeah, I think this is where things get problematic, right? Like, you have 2 very heavily single-target gods in the form of Neith and Fenrir, where they're good at, you can execute 1 target down immediately, but you have to pick and choose who that's going to be and hope you pick the right one, because if you make any mistake there, that's a problem. Scream is very interestingly positioned here. behind everybody, as Ancient Fury has been pulled here by Team with 5Ms, but it's going to be a 5-man grouping like we've been waiting for. Scream coming in from behind, so is Cherry, and it's 2 going into 5 here, and Bello seems to be in trouble. Wrong, you under half health. He's polymorphed. He might be gone here in a second, living to see another day for the time being, but now Cherry, Scream pick up kills for themselves. There's another one for Scream, the double kill. The Ancient Fury is on the board. It is gone, and it's all Team with 5Ms screaming their way down the left-hand side. And this Phoenix should just be for free, followed by the Titan next. I don't know that they can be stopped here. Obviously, there's a couple up, but is it going to be enough to stop the aggression of the 5Ms? And for the time being, Chalk tries to get the damage off, tries to dissuade them. It's not going to happen.
Oh, man.
He takes the spill. Jungaru won't be enough. Team with 5Ms are screaming their way to the finals.
Susano continues his winning streak here, Blaze. You called it out in the draft. And here it is at the end, a prophecy come true. Team simply tearing through that last one. Cherry, really the MVP for that last fight. He led the charge, had a beautiful flank on everything. And the pressure he exerted onto that backline was relentless. Duba really wasn't able to play that game at all. 0-5-4, had a lot of focus coming out from Scream against him. And it just prevented Bello from really being able to facilitate anything in their team fights.
I mean, I look over at Scream, man. He's level 20. He's the only one. Like, we talk about this Susano. I think if you're going into the finals, this Susano has to be a discussion. We have not seen it be beat. It has to be taken out. I don't know who gets it, but shoutouts to Bello. I think they played really, really well overall. Obviously, they're on the losing side of this matchup, but they showed what playing with aggression's like. They went ahead and they stole objectives from time to time. They never backed down. And that's what I love seeing from any team, is saying, hey, we're just here to fight and we're going to make it happen. But shoutouts to Team with 5Ms heading here to the finals. And we'll find out shortly who they're going to be up against here on Smite Prime. But we'll be back here in just a few minutes.
Well, this one is a knocker. Step in on the dance and I just my dance. Everything's scattered. Right? Right?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the pinnacle of Smite Prime, the peak of our plays tonight. It's finals time, baby. I'm D-Lo, joined here by Spooky Mars in the booth. We got Tess and Kat as our production peeps, and Jithens as admin extraordinaire. And we got Team with 5Ms on the side of order, Cowabunga on the Band Bacchus side. Spooky, how we feeling?
You know, if I was excited for the last game, I don't think I have really words to describe what I'm expecting from this game. The last one was star-studded, and this one just goes even more so. We are seeing the peak of the current Smite 2 talent going against each other for the very first time. I legitimately cannot describe my excitement for this.
I will say this is actually, in a sense, wait, hold on a second. We're not banning Bacchus? Okay, I regret everything I said. Loki going to be taken off the map. Neath, banned here by Team but 5Ms. And that makes sense because they've excelled on that pick with Paul when Cowabunga faced up against Team but with 5Ms in the semifinals of the prior Founders tourney. So they're trying to make sure to counter that aggression. They're not going to give Paul back this pick that they performed so well on. You know who's going to perform well, though? Bacchus, of course. Without a ban to keep them in line, he's back on the road.
It does leave up to Susano, who's been a terror through the tournament so far. Undefeated in every game we've seen him in. It's going to be the Fenrir Susano double lock-in for the side of Cowabunga. I don't know. Is that more valuable, or at least equally as valuable as the Bacchus?
No.
It's tough to say. I don't know. Like the Fenrir does have
Nope.
the potential to just lock down this Bacchus and not let him participate in the fight.
I don't know, bro. Like
It could
a
be a
belch is
support
already
Fenrir.
a belch already smells bad enough, and dogs have even more heightened senses. I've got to think that you're just passing out instantly. Even if you don't go to the grayscale, you're at least incapacitated for 2 times as long with the stun. Hecate is the lock-in alongside it, and Ares. All of our magical threats here being locked in by a team, but with 5Ms to start it off.
I gotta ask, like, do burps knock you out, like personally?
I mean, you can't smell it through the screen, thank God, but if it were to be the case that I was faced with a Bacchus belch in real life, I've got to imagine I'm taking a nap for at least 5 minutes.
5 minutes is not too bad of a time to see the soul get locked in alongside Sano and Fenrir. And this is kind of something we've been seeing a lot. We look at team, but with 5Ms, as big circles, big ultimates, looking for those team fights. It played very well for them in the game we just watched with them. Aside of Cowabunga, it's a lot more single target oriented damage. You're looking to pick people up, isolate them, and blast them down with the Soul Jingwei. I don't hate it, but it does rely on getting the ball rolling very early on. With this Bacchus to throw a wrench into things, I mean, there's a reason he's been banned so consistently throughout the tournament. I have to wonder if Cowabunga's strategy, their draft strat right now, is going to be effective enough to get them the early lead they need.
To be fair, they have reason to feel confident, Spook. That last time they faced off in that Founders Tournament, it was expected, as you said, the peak of our competition, the peak of our plays, the peak of our player base in Smite 2. It was still not as close as you might expect. Cowabunga took it pretty decisively in about a 30-minute game. It didn't go off to a slugfest. There wasn't too much counterpunch. Team, but with 5Ms, quickly lost pace and the game slipped from their fingers. Hades is going to be trying to send them to that exact same destination. That's their final lock. Spooky, we've got both of our comps locked in. What do you think the game plan is here for Team, but with 5Ms to ensure this time they can come up victorious?
It really just feels to me like they're trying to not give up too much in the early game. The plan here is to scale up and start playing around objectives. Every single piece of their draft plays so effectively when they start grouping together. If they need someone to buy time, if they need to isolate a target, they've got the Mordred for that. But even he really excels in those team fights. Those multi-man pursue the weaks can really do a lot of work. It's really just about surviving the onslaught from this Fenrir, from the Susano, and getting to that point and not letting Cowabunga snowball.
I'm just worried about the Bacchus, man. We've all had the experience of this god in your casuals, even in your ranks if they let him pass. Cowabunga's showing their confidence. They don't have fear of the god of wine. We're looking to get turned up in here. As far as just favoring one side or another, Spooky, which side do you want to hedge your bets on?
If I'm looking at purely the draft,
Yes.
I favor team with 5Ms.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm looking at the players' history and how they've gone against each other in the past and the pedigree on both sides, I do have to give it to Cowabunga a little bit. But if they're playing both in top shape, evenly matched, I do think team with 5Ms has a slight advantage simply from all the CC, the displacement they have, and how strong their team fights look. Cowabunga is really reliant on those single target picks. You've got great ways to displace targets in the Fenrir and the Sano, and ways to keep them locked down in the Hades, but I just don't think they're as strong as the Bacchus, the Ares, the Hecate.
Another interesting question we have to ask here with a Soul and a Jingwei. You've got to imagine Soul probably in that mid lane. Do you opt for intelligence? To be fair, yes, it could very well flex in other areas. Do you opt for intelligence scaling then? If you do decide to take that mage into the mid, do you opt to have both of these gods still go with auto attack based systems for their itemization? What do you think is going to be the pathway there?
I think you still go with the strength build for the Soul. I think the value from those enhanced basics at full heat is just more valuable than some extra scaling on Stellar Burst, which just doesn't do a lot. It's not going to match the poke of the triplicate form or the spell sigil from Hecate. They're not going to match the ranged poke damage. So it's better to just focus in on what you're good at with the draft. That's going to be shredding down objectives, shredding down towers, and just hitting things really hard with the in-hand.
And we haven't gotten to see Cowabunga on the stream here tonight, so hopefully their objective game, given the names that are on their roster, is going to be heads up, because Team, but with 5 M's, certainly will bring the damage, and you got to imagine bring the Sunders too to the occasion. You don't have to worry about those Odins to use your blinks on. You don't have to worry about Odins to get a shell in. Their Relic can really opt into that game looking for those objectives, looking for those moments, like you said, when we're grouped up 5v5. So let's talk about Cowabunga and their team fight strategy. What do you think an ideal team fight, looking at their comp, is going to be?
An ideal team fight starts with them isolating either Hecate or this Kronos, picking them up in the jaws, bringing them back to the team. From there, they've got the numbers advantage, and they've got great in-hand damage. That's the good thing about this team, is that you're not focused on blowing one person up and then suddenly, oh man, I've got no cooldowns, I can't do anything. Those in-hands will still be available for both backliners, and they can keep pumping that damage out.
True.
If they get the numbers advantage, they can push forward, use the disruption from the Susano, use the lockdown from the Hades, assuming he doesn't burn the ult on a single target, which I trust that he wouldn't. And from there, that's their winning path towards victory. Find one piece that they can break apart from the armor, and then just full send into the chip.
You're absolutely correct in terms of that separation, the dichotomy of Smite player here. It's kit dump. I click all my keys, and then if they're not dead, I lift my hands up off the keyboard. There's nothing more I can do for our friend's team, but with 5 M's. And then Cowabunga, you just hold down the mouse. You're going to be just fine. Even if you expend those stellar bursts, those crossbow explosive bolts, you still got plenty of damage to spare. And of course, you have these slippery gods in your team as well. Susano, Fenrir, that Hades Death from Below. There's a lot of ways to escape this Floppus Belch combo.
I don't like that name, bro.
That's what he does, bro. He flops. Hopefully the god itself won't be a flop.
We don't need to call him Floppus, though.
That's what he does, and I have to imagine that the game devs, when they made that ability for him, had it in mind. So I'm looking for Floppus to not be a flop, because we've been hyping it up this entire tourney. It's the first time we can see him grace the field. So hopefully he doesn't get picked up for drunk driving on his way to the battlefield and just gets held back in the fountain.
Well, Smite Cart isn't a thing anymore, so I don't think he's at any risk of drunk driving charges. Maybe,
Well, that's nice.
maybe public indecency, since being intoxicated in public is
True.
frowned upon.
What would each of these Smite gods go to jail for? Mordred, I don't know, dude. I don't think you could carry around those swords in public. You can't just be running through walls and slashing someone up, but
Here in
hopefully...
Texas, you can.
And of course, and everything's bigger in Texas, and we got a big match coming up for you. Don't go anywhere. Finals coming at you in just a sec. We are here, and we are in the clear. It's Smite Prime, baby, and it's the peak of our gameplay. Team out with 5 M's. Slating up here against Cowabunga, looking for revenge, looking to change the timeline this time around. I'm D-Lo, joined here by Spooky, Almighty Eye in the Sky, Tess and Kat joining us for the ride. Spooky, just as far as these opening first few minutes, what should we expect to see from these teams?
Honestly, right now I'm just watching the relics to see how many Sunders get picked up. We've got two on the side of Bello right now. I'm sorry, team with 5 M's right now. And they're on pretty much exactly who you would expect to see. They're on Cherry, they're on PBM. This is a Bacchus solo, so I'm already expecting some aggressive positioning from both these guys. Still hanging on to see what Yarkor picks up here. Probably going to be a defensive relic, whether it's combat blink or no, it's a Sunder for himself.
Huh. Interesting. 2 for 2 then, at the very least. So they're even up on that, but it's on an atypical god you wouldn't quite expect to pick it up. What does that mean there for Yarkor as far as their positioning? Do they need to change how they play, considering they don't have the Purification or the Aegis?
Honestly, I think this means they're looking to play more aggressively in the lane. I think they're trying to combine Aurora and Yarkor's early game damage and just try to put down the enemy laners as frequently, as often as possible, and facilitate some of these invades. Yarkor has great damage output, especially with fully stacked heat. Soul hits really hard in the early game with the 15% enhanced basic attacks. You got a Sunder on top of that, someone is going to die.
And that's definitely not what you want to see here. Gonna have to find out if we decide to put that aggression early, given that relic pick so far, everyone obeying their sides. Fenrir maybe gonna try to make a traipse over instead. Leaps on in, instantly tries to look for that Sunder pick onto the buff. Not gonna quite work, and you might be a puppy dog put down in just a second. Chain's not gonna be able to find the back of the Unbound one, which means they're free to return back to lane. Unfortunately, though, didn't quite get that invade.
It does lose quite a bit of health. It's okay. He's got both a health chalice and health pots to keep himself topped up there. Does mean he's looked around for a little bit of nothing. He did not actually burn the Sunder there. That's still available for him. There is still plenty of kill potential in this lane. If they fail the invade, you might just look for the aggressive exchanges, the skirmishes early on. If you can get a first blood over to Yarkor and start that ball rolling, not too bad of a position, and you're more than happy trading a buff for first blood.
We will certainly take that for sure. At the very least, you didn't have to put up too much to the claim. It's gonna be interesting to see these dynamics. It is indeed Soul gonna be here in that dual lane, that being said. So Jingwei in the mid, something we don't get to see quite too often, but certainly for good reason. Now we're trying to see here this duo, a nice little gank. Soul unfortunately put in danger, put down on the ground. Cyclone spin, grabs that first blood. Puppy dog gonna be able to be lucky again. I thought it was cats who have 9 lives. At the very least, your Fenrir doesn't die just yet.
And that is purely a result of Yarkor going for the Sunder. Doesn't have beast, so he gets rooted down. And here in the mid lane, so aggression comes out, not going to be enough to trade it back. So that remains a 2-0 lead for team with 5 Ms.
Yeah, Roar got picked up off the back end. Mordred just persistent. Pursues the weak without the ultimate even in pocket. And unfortunately puts down that dual lane.
Bro, you
Clearly
call it
showing.
weak?
It seems that at least Mordred thinks so if they're going to be able to hunt them down in tier 1 sub 2 minutes. And that attention is trying to be returned here on the right side instead by Chaos, trying to look for that Bacchus who floppuses their way back to safety. And that Belch, stinky enough to try to put you down for 5 minutes. Instead, it's just going to force Susano to retreat back. We'll take a Warhorn, I suppose, but no kills on the board for them yet.
You're going to keep dropping the floppus on me, aren't you?
Hell yes, I am, bro. That's what the character does.
Oh man, I'm gonna hate this cast. I can already tell. Good aggression coming out from Cowabunga. Unfortunately, doesn't quite get them anything on the board just yet. But I like the idea. It's just not quite panning out for them so far. Maybe they need to roll it back a little bit, try to address this left lane over here, because that is where a lot of the early game power really is for Cowabunga's draft so far. But right now, they're just kind of getting pushed in. They don't have a lot of breathing room. It does mean that team is in an aggressive spot where they could be ganked. But if you look at the map, it's really Scream who's spending most of his time over on this left side.
And it's Cherry, who unfortunately is spending some time now in the fountain, thanks to another good gank there by Panatom. Finishes off the job. We're seeing some coast-to-coast violence. And on the right side, it's going to be favoring Cowabunga. Left side clearly cannot be saying the same as Mordred facilitates another nice invade. No ultimates on deck quite just yet, but Purple Buff drop could indeed be what decides it. Looking for the soul, chained up. Drops it on the Fenrir as well. The chains and flames going to result in the end. PBM takes down Aurora. They're still in her tower, though, which means there's still danger. Might just be for the soul instead. Screambolt with 5 M's.
No way.
Says that final kill is theirs. And they can't even do much about it. Jingwei, Paul makes the rotation, but doesn't quite want to test their luck. Another 2 dropped here in the duo.
I mean, this is the cost of what you've done with your draft, right? You looked for the early aggression, you didn't find it, you've gotten punished. You sacrificed safety in order to try to find that aggression. Yarkor simply had no way to avoid the no escape. He's not level 5 yet, so he didn't have Supernova. Incorporeal wasn't available because he used it to avoid some of the chains and flames damage, which simply just meant they turned that same damage to a roar. Excellent decision making from PBM. And the fact that they've got Paul in the mid lane on a Jingwei, I'm not the biggest fan of it because there's just no real big rotations Paul can do on this. Paul is like the guy to come in and find the big damage that you need in a fight. But that's just not what Jingwei does. He does consistent damage, and the crits hurt a lot when they hit. But it takes her a while to get there. It takes her a while to get online. And all she's got for AoE is the enhanced autos.
Uh-oh. Ares might need to start worrying about their AoE as well because his member's poised to try to take them down. Here comes the Typhoon. Here comes the Ragnarok as well.
Boy.
Sliced up into the sky, though, to avoid it. Scream takes down Panatom instead.
No escape.
No escape. You're not going anywhere. Drops down the Supernova right on top of it. Fenrir trying to brutalize them down, but Cyclone Spin will just not have it. Here comes the rotation from Paul. Answers back with a nice kill, but Ares is trying to escape. Dante also makes the rotation, brings back in Yarkor. You're not going anywhere, buddy. And Soul will, just like that, have their flames extinguished. Paul now, caught between a rock and a hard play, is going to try to make the best of what they can with those bolts. Nice agility there to get a bit more space. Anyone who dares approach might be in a bit of trouble, but their heart's being drained.
No
their
way.
life as well, and Paul will fall in the dual lane too. PBM picks up that kill.
The fact that Scream survives all of that is absolute insanity. Paul tried to find the kill, played as hard as he could, but the build isn't there yet. The items aren't online, and frankly, Jingwei is weak in the early game. Mordred simply outdamages, and when you've got two other people there, he surely outdamages. That is such a critical turn for team with 5Ms. Sure, they lost Cyclone Spin. Sure, I think Cherry died on the opposite side of the map. But who cares when you're picking up like 4 kills on the left side? They have so much dominance over this left lane right now. But it's Cowabunga who are looking at this Cold Fury first.
You gotta respect that. Hey, Cowabunga are not to be taken out of this fight. Yarkor grabs that one. Sunder's still in pocket as well. So hey, we'll take it. They're gonna look peachy for it. Now 7 minutes into this game. 8-3. That's in favor of team with 5Ms. But the gold is actually now still in favor of Cowabunga. I guess their macro play is unmatched.
The fact that they maintain a gold lead off of that is very unfortunate for team with 5Ms, but very good for Cowabunga. The fact that they recognized that they had that small window while team with 5Ms was taking that reset to get to that Gold Fury and burn it down before they had a chance, absolutely critical. And now a shutdown comes through as well. That goes to Panatom. That's massive.
Oh no, could find some more. Quickly flop is your way out of there, buddy. Unfortunately, no. Panatom says, I don't quite like that name or that god either. You're gonna go down. Cherry gets eaten up there. Once again, we're seeing the pressure and where it's falling. So far, it's been Cowabunga coming up all in spades on this right side, and Bacchus just hasn't been able to contribute for that reason. So the question is, can they even provide that utility come late game when the rest of the enemy team is just pitching a tent in your side?
Absolutely. Yes, Bacchus is still going to do Bacchus things. He's still going to belly flop in, smash a jar of wine, get everyone intoxicated. He's struggling a little bit right now in this early game. When you take a look at the big picture here, this is not bad at all for team with 5Ms. Frankly, the fact that they're leading in kills is very good for them. Aurora tries to get a dunk onto Cyclone, not going to connect there. But the game plan the team with 5Ms has is a long one. They're okay being 1,000, 2,000 goal behind in the early stages of the game, because they're not playing for the early game. They're playing for the mid game. They're playing for the late game. This is the part of the game where Cowabunga is expected to be stronger, and it's really only Panatom making moves on the map for them right now.
You know what's also nice, though, about being up in the kills as in terms of the gold, especially when you're a team who's taken that unfortunate loss before against your opponents, having kills just viscerally feels better. Mordred agrees. They're looking for some more here in this duo side. Susano's making the rotation over, but will they only arrive with his corpses left to save? Might be Soul the first one to go. Drops down that Supernova once again, but the damage is still true. Here comes the Ragnarok as well. Now Mordred could find themselves in a bit of trouble, having to rotate their way out. Ares still taking the tower, but the tower is down. So is PBM. Here comes the rotation and the damage to follow it off. Panatom sweeps up Cyclone Spin in a tornado of their own. 2 kills, this time in favor of Cowabunga.
That was a messy play coming out from team with 5Ms. Like you said, they were looking for the kills there. They wanted to try to put some more on board. That's really not what they need to be focused on right now. Mordred does answer backstream, picks up solo or troll there. It's not enough to make up for what was lost there. They lose so many members. They're getting some tower pressure down. It's not going to be a tier 1 falling just yet. It might be losing Benny Q as well.
That hurts, man. Paul is starting to provide those big damage dividends. And sure, Jingwei, like you said, it's consistent damage, but once Hecate drops down those cooldowns, your repel spells is not going to be repelling those basics. So now 10 minutes we look to see here. 9 to 8, still kills in favor of team, but with 5 Ms. But unfortunately, the gold lead's slowly starting to wind a bit further in favor of our friends on Cowabunga, now about 2,000 to their name. So the question is, what big player are we looking for here? What do we need to see to make sure this dual lane stands firm and doesn't just keep getting ganked on cooldown?
So, team with 5Ms needs to make sure they're keeping track of Panatom. That's the most important thing in the game for them right now. Panatom is 4-1-2. He's the one making plays on this map. I love this decision to go for the gold period, but they got to be careful. Aurora's in the area. There's no one else plumbing anywhere. Wait, no!
That's gross, man. Did you take a bite of it? Did you take a bite of the gold fury? Said, I just want a quick snack real quick. Give me my begging strips. Cherry gonna be begging for mercy. They go down 2. Once again, Bacchus, unfortunately, just cannot stay upright. Gets pulled over once again. Ares might be meeting a similar fate here. Drops down the toadstool, but unfortunately, Fenrir is dropping down with the brutalized too. At least you have Hecate to back you up and screams. Gonna silence Yarkor with the quickness, but they get taken out in trade by Paul's rotation. And there's an awful lot of targets looking for Jingwei arrows in their back. Ares gets downed by that airstrike, and the retreat by Paul ends that with a nice double kill.
Cyclone trying to play around the walls here. He's looking for Panatom, but he's not going to be able to find that. That's an excellent exchange for Cowabunga. They are continuously pulling themselves back into this game. They are now leading in kills, and they've extended this gold lead even further. Now, slightly over 5,000 in their favor. Everything is just going their way. And remember, this is a best of 1 right now, Dilo. This is it. The pressure is on for both sides. But Cowabunga has been tenacious. Naga gets leashed up here. It is only Cyclone spin here for right now. It doesn't look like Cowabunga's going to take the bait here. They're going to play this one slow. Now I'm going to try to aggress onto that.
I respect that. Aurora says, I don't think lightning strikes twice. You don't have a Zeus on your team after all. Even with the Sunder in pocket, just didn't quite feel comfortable to actually try to challenge. And that's okay. Now not only is the gold in their favor, about 5,000 to their name, it's also kills too, so what you had before is just starting to feel a bit worse and out of control. Might be Cherry going down again as the rest of the team slowly constricts the noose around their neck, constricts the jaws around the neck here of the Mordred. Tossed up, brought down, Cherry as well. At least the Heart Slash gives you a bit of health. Not enough though. Scream goes down without a sound.
The self-slow from it is just not going to be enough to get him out of there. Paul puts one shot in the back. That's all it really takes to wrap that one up. Cowabunga is just accelerating themselves forward, and Benny Q in a bad spot. Panatom under the tower. Gonna get out clean unless PBM can find something to do about it. Nah, no shot.
This is Sano, bro. Dude's got 3 dashes and a blink as well. Absolutely great play here from Panatom. You said it before, man. Keep eyes on him. Does anyone know where the heck this Asano is? No? I'm probably dead in 15 seconds. But how do you pin down a god that's just that slippery on a player that's just that good?
And it really comes down to the vision. There's simply not enough of it on the map right now. And a lot of these plays are just being too aggressive for the lack of knowing where Panatom is at. I wish there was a more eloquent way to put that. Probably is, but I'm not going to spend time finding it because they're not spending time finding Panatom. If this continues, I mean, the gold lead is just going to continue accelerating. It's already looking in dire straits 14 minutes in. 8,000 gold is nothing to sneeze at. It's not the absolute end of the world. It's becoming a lot more difficult for Team with 5Ms to fight back into Cowabunga. Right now, it's all about locating Panatom in a fight and making sure you can either take him out before you commit to the rest of it, or remove all the other threats before Panatom gets to you, and he moves really fast.
Yeah, I hope Team with 5Ms have been like studying Where's Waldo books in their free time to just prepare for this matchup, because that just might be their only hope to actually pin down that slippery son of a gun. Meanwhile, in the duo lane, Carry's just bursting off. At the very least, you have that to your name. That tier 1 gives you some good map state pressure, but we're trying to return that right back here in the mid. As you can see them all grouping up, lurking to that left side, just moving as a 4-man death ball at this point. The rotations of Cowabunga are just unmatched.
It's the rotations, it's the grouping, it's just the overall map awareness from Cowabunga so far. They're not giving anything up for free. They see Cyclone Spin stepping up on that left side. They don't make a rotation over. They simply group up in that mid lane and let themselves be seen. And Cyclone knows he cannot stick around there for much longer. He knows they can't make a play for the Gold Fury. And frankly, I don't know if they can make a play for the Gold Fury, because when they did, Aurora just comes in and eats it. You've had one Gold Fury uncontested, one that just gets ripped away from you, and now it's very clear to me that Cowabunga is keeping a lot of eyes on this Fire Giant. This is the one they want to be looking at. They're not going to make a play for it early. They're not going to sacrifice anything on the map. They've been consistently waiting for Team with 5Ms to make that first move, to be the ones to overstep and just ripping it all away from them.
I mean, yeah, the game pace has slowed down immensely, and it's because Team with 5Ms just doesn't feel liable to actually set the rhythm anymore. It's 16 minutes, 10-14. That gold lead is slowly getting further out of control, and a Gold Fury will only further add to their coffers. It forces Cyclone Spin out with the quickness. Yarkor takes it once again. No Sunder even necessary. Can we get some kills on top of it? I'm pursuing the weak, and I'm coming for you. It's going to be Scream that takes down Yarkor with the quickness. Now they need to flee. Cyclone Spin going to do so the hard way. Paul's on a rampage. Panatom takes down Scream. At least they know where he is. Unfortunately, he's stomping on your corpse.
Man, every single fight has just been a masterclass in splitting up Team with 5Ms. None of these have been 5-on-5s here, D'Lo. They've consistently been 2-on-2s, 2-on-1s.
Yeah.
Panatom just locates targets and shreds them apart. Excellent play from Scream to get that kill onto Yark, but unfortunately it's not enough. And now, yeah, you can try to do this if you want to, Cherry. Again, you can't take these one-on-ones because there's just never one.
No. Run, Flop is quick. Cherry's about to get cherry picked. This is just unfortunate. Can you finish the job before you go down? Not even granted that luxury. Panatom slices it away from them as they slice their head cleanly off their shoulders. We were hyping up this Bacchus pick so much, and I'm feeling a fool. Man's 0-6. That just does not feel good. Neither would an FG going into Cowabunga's pockets. They need to contest this. It's only Ares on the scene right now, and I don't think they have the moxie or the gumption to do too much about it. Here comes Mordred. That could be a different story, but Cowabunga looking to finish the job. It's Yarkor. Grabs that FG for the team.
It just goes down so quickly. There's no opportunity for Team with 5Ms to get in there. The 5Ms are really M's at this point. They were trying to invert them into W's, but that seems to be slipping further and further away from them as this game goes on. We now see an 11,000 gold lead for Cowabunga, and this is with a Fire Giant on top of it. Towers, not going to be long for this world. There's so much shred on the side of Cowabunga right now. All they have to do is take a step forward, and the towers practically disappear in fear of them. They don't want to stand in their way. They know they can't do anything. And Team with 5Ms, they know that they cannot do anything either. They have to hold back. They have to kind of rally around these Phoenixes. You can put up a soft defense at your tier 2s, maybe, but you try to stick around for a half second too long, and Panatom's probably behind you.
It's just an absolute horror game they're playing right now. I thought we were playing Smite, but it's Lethal Company, and the Bracken's coming. Sasano's coming for these tier 1s. Once again, just melting away. Look at the damage just raining down on any structure or god in your path. We talked about before that these fights have been 2v2s. They've been 1v1s. They have never been full force for Team Up with 5Ms, and that's what we need to see. So the question is, how do we get there? How do we actually make sure that we're all positioned properly for a cohesive fight?
Well, here's the good news. It's a lot easier to be grouped as 5 around a Phoenix when
True.
everyone else is at your Phoenix line. Frankly, 5Ms don't have much of a choice at this point. They're not in a position where they can split this map any longer. The best they could do is have 4 grouped with 1 split. Probably Scream going to be holding around that mid lane. He's probably the best guy to put there because he can run through the walls with his ultimate, try to get over if Cowabunga decides to commit onto a left side bird. The fact is, they're so far behind. This defense is so difficult. Look how fast Cherry is melting.
It's so sad as Cyclone Spin gets taken down as well. This could be the end of their run. They recognize that, fighting back with desperation. Burst through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man as Scream tries to finish the job on a Fenrir, but the rest of the opposition says, oh yeah, we're taking you down instead. Scream, melted by Paul. Panatom, we found him. He's eliminating Benny Q right afterwards. Pillar of Agony takes down PBM, and with that, the only one left is the Floppus. Cherry, was it worth picking that god for your side right now? Can't quite imagine the answer's gonna be yes as they look to melt him too. Get some good damage on the Fenrir, but it's not enough. It's the deicide. Cowabunga give team, but with 5Ms, a second L, and take the first Smite Prime 2 tourney.
I mean, that is convincing from Cowabunga. You mentioned how they looked in the Founders Tournament. They looked clean. They looked great. This one was shorter, and it was equally as convincing. There was a lot of fight from Team with 5Ms at the start of that. And frankly, it looked rough. Yarkor ends that game 2-5. They didn't find the dual lane success they were looking with the double Thunders. But the fact is, 5Ms put so much attention on that dual lane, on shutting those Thunders down. Panatom and Paul simply ripped through the rest of the map. And Solo Troll as well. He's 4-1-5. This Bacchus, irrelevant. Did nothing. I gassed it up too a little bit. I said it wasn't going to matter if he's getting put down early. But the fact that it just kept happening, and then 5M started taking L's on the other side of the map as well, is what really sealed the deal there. The fact that they started losing in that duo lane meant there was nothing for Cherry to actually play off of.
It really wasn't Cherry's fault because all that attention was just being placed on their shoulders. And we had some questions about that. We said, okay, but maybe focus on helping out Yarkor a bit, who is struggling in those first opening minutes of the game. But their game plan proved to be succession. It's proving why we're here in the booth talking about how well they did, and they're the ones actually playing the game. They had confidence that this Bacchus just would not bring any damage late game, and unfortunately, despite Cherry's best efforts, they just couldn't quite do it. So, Spooky, let's try to focus on the positive, though. Team but with 5Ms, they certainly gave him a hell of a fight. Where do we think they excelled?
I mean, they certainly showed a lot of promise in the early game, and they clearly have an identity that they want to play through. They want to pick these team fight ultimates, and they want to be grouping up and taking those 5-man fights. We saw it in the semi just before this. All they needed was one single team fight, and they won the entire game off of that. It didn't translate as well here into this one, but you can see the pieces that are moving. You can see the ideas that they're putting in place, and frankly, I kind of like them.
I certainly like that we got there too from both teams. Team with 5Ms, very competitive. There's a reason they were up to slate against the best. Cowabunga, congratulations. You make Smite 2 Prime history by taking the first tournament. But that being said, ladies, gentlemen, and MBs, that is all we have here for you today on Smite Prime. I've been D-Lo. Joined here by Spooky Mars, you also heard the vocal talents of Blaze McBlain, our almighty eyes in the sky, Tess and Kat, doing all they could to keep our production running. Please make sure to drop some thanks for our production team in the chat. We cannot yell about games without them. And also a big shout out there to Jithins running the show, man behind the machine, with all the admin work they do as well. And last but not least, thank you, loyal, obedient viewer, for your time. We hope you've been enjoying these games just as much as we have. Keep an eye to the sky for more tournaments like this coming up weekly. We got plenty more in store for you. With that, good games and good night.
Well, this one is a knocker. Step in on the dance, and I just my dance. Everything's scattered.